Chapter 1332. The Shui, King, straightened his back. The shattered blood pool of hell poured down an immeasurable amount of blood, forming several rivers of blood on the scorching rock. The Shui, King, sat facing the rivers of blood. A lianhua had grown on the surface of the river. Its leaves were so dark that they were almost as dark as ink, and the lianhua was blood-red like fire, blooming beautifully. Hell had been shattered, and an immeasurable amount of karma had poured down, but it was all contained by the lianhua blooming in the blood river. The golden light of the Ksitigarbha temple shone through the shattered, scorching rock and onto the lianhua. Under the golden light, Yuta City was ablaze with karmic fire. The Shui, King, sat in the middle of the sea of fire, and immeasurable karmic fire bloomed like lianhua blooming all over the sea. Zhang Jiao said solemnly, "The demonic path overthrew the underworld and set up a grand scheme, killing the 10 halls of Yanluo and sending away Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva." Although Patriarch River Styx's schemes were profound, it was also because the mighty figures of the celestial court watched from the sidelines. Now, Patriarch River Styx has succeeded, and we are merely pawns being used by him. Why won't he let us go? The Shui King, who was sitting beside Zhang Jiao and Prince Bo-jun, said nothing. He just sat in silence. Prince Bo-jun said solemnly, "Since the demonic path wants to dominate the underworld, why make enemies everywhere? We only want to rebel against Emperor Zhuanqiu and change the heavens. We have no intention of going against Patriarch River Styx. Moreover, Yin-Yang Demon Master might be strong for now, but he has to wipe out the remnants of the 10 halls of Yanluo, and the other demon masters have important matters to attend to as well. Although you are a direct descendant of the Blood Sea, you are merely a demon monarch, not demon master Dara of the demonic path. You may not be able to stop us." The Shui King closed his eyes and sighed. The bell of chaos has rung, and the celestial court has been overturned. How did Prince Bo-jun know that he wasn't a part of it? Shui opened his eyes and smiled mockingly at Bo-jun and the others. "Crown Prince, we've been plotting to take your life for a long time now. As long as you're alive, how could the heavenly court ever find an excuse to destroy the heavens? The great calamity of hell this time was nominally caused by the love between Baisujin and Crown Prince Mu, and it was all caused by Crown Prince Bo-jun's jealousy." Baisujin, who was standing to the side, was already powerless to refute. Refute that she had no personal relationship with Imperial Prince Mu? Su Xian, the second reincarnation of Prince Mu, who was clinging to her pitifully, was the best evidence. Now, all the gods in the 3 realms believed that she had an affair with Prince Mu. Baisujin only had one mouth, so how could she explain it clearly? If the Crown Prince doesn't die, how can we put the blame on the Crown Prince? Only when heaven and man offend each other, and humans and demons fall in love with each other, will the High Sun clan have sufficient reason to destroy the heavens, to descend from the heavens, to remain undisturbed by humans and gods, and to remain hidden from the world. A cruel smile appeared on the Shui King's face. For the greater good, we have no choice but to sacrifice the Crown Prince. The Shui King laughed heartily and said in high spirits, "Previously, the Crown Prince used countless living beings as pawns for his own selfishness, causing countless innocent souls to appear on the bridge of helplessness, framing an innocent little demon and colluding with the demon race to change the heavens and the earth. Now, how does it feel to be sacrificed? Does it feel good? Does it feel good?" In the eyes of the great mediums, the ancestors, Emperor Zhuanqiu, and the 3 pure ones of the mystic door, although the Crown Prince is nominally a descendant of the heavens, how is he different from all living beings? You view all living beings as ants. But in the eyes of those who truly view all living beings as ants, aren't you just a large ant? Beneath Dara, all are ants. Does the Crown Prince not understand the calamity of the underworld? The Shui King stood up, and the blood river in front of him flowed backward, turning into a sea of blood. The Shui King turned into a line of blood and fused into the sea of blood. The endless sea of blood turned into his qi and blood, forming the body of the fiend god. A red lotus fell into his hand, and the 12th ranked red lotus bloomed, igniting a monstrous karmic fire. The Shui King's blood sea true body picked up the Lianhua, and the Lianhua flew into the void, disappearing in an instant. Retreat! Crown Prince Bojun bellowed. Zhang Jiao raised the 9-section staff. But before he could even move, a 12th ranked red lotus bloomed with innate, inextinguishable spirit light. A speck of spirit light fell like fire, touching the 9-section staff. In an instant, a destructive karmic fire ignited. The Shui King laughed coldly and said, "Karma originated from the Buddhist sect, and we demons would naturally disdain it. However, the karma of the Buddhist sect is only the effect and result of the actions of all living beings, while the karma of the demonic sect refers to the inevitable disorder in the operation of the rules, which is the tendency of chaos in all living beings. Karmic fire is the fire of chaos, the fire of disorder. It burns all order and transforms yin and yang into chaotic flames. The karma of the Buddhist sect is the karma of all living beings, while the karma of the demon sect is the karma of the heavens and earth. Therefore, wherever the karmic fire burns, all uncertainties are endless. The red lotus of karmic fire refers to the power of rebirth after all living beings are destroyed by chaos due to their inherent chaotic nature. Wherever the karmic fire burns, the red lotus blooms. For example, in the myriad of worlds, countless living beings cause great calamities due to their inherent chaotic nature, and because of the slaughter of the tribulations, the disorderly cause and effect are eliminated and order is restored. Therefore, the karmic fire is disorder, the red lotus is order. Disorder towards order is slaughter, cutting off karma. Order towards disorder is the karmic fire. Karma is chaotic and karma accumulates. Born naturally, destroyed naturally, then reborn. This order of birth and destruction is the red lotus of karmic fire of the demonic sect. The moment the red lotus of karmic fire bloomed, red and black flames burned. Wherever it went, the uncertainties in the operation of yin and yang were endless. Countless yuan qi and yin and yang were restrained, turning into chaos. All things, whether tangible or intangible, lost their internal attributes, appearing in a state of extreme chaos. Clear and turbid intersected, yin and yang blended. Wherever the karmic fire burned, besides the principles of chaos, no other laws existed. The supernatural powers that Zhang Jiao cultivated were all derived from his understanding of the laws. All spells and supernatural powers had to follow the great Tao of the operation of all living beings. Now that the great Tao was uncertain, the great Tao was impermanent. Once Zhang Jiao's supernatural powers touched the karmic fire, they would automatically collapse, becoming a part of the karmic fire. Just like a country and organization, because of the constant accumulation of internal chaotic power, it would eventually lead to the collapse of the country, and the organization would fall into chaos. All of Zhang Jiao's supernatural powers and supernatural powers were infinitely magnified by the karmic fire. This chaotic nature, just by touching the karmic fire, became a part of it. The connate numinous treasure in his hand, the connate inextinguishable spirit light, could only protect him from the chaotic nature of the karmic fire. The internal order of the connate numinous treasure was protected by the connate inextinguishable spirit light, so it could not be invaded by the karmic fire. But once it tried to affect external forces, it would be burned by the karmic fire. The 9-sex scepter was unscathed in the karmic fire, but it had lost all its spirituality. It was like a dead object, unable to show any spirituality. Wherever the red lotus of karmic fire spoke, endless karmic fire burned, turning all yuan qi into chaos. Zhang Jiao kept striking out the 9 degrees great Tao's supernatural powers, creating small worlds of the 9 degrees great Tao around him. Before these small worlds were destroyed by the karmic fire and turned into chaos, he created countless more small worlds. Within 3 feet of him, countless worlds were born and destroyed, resisting the invasion of chaos. Zhang Jiao said nervously, "Your Highness, leave quickly." Prince Bo Jun fled towards the gates of hell in a panic. Facing the endless karmic fire, Zhang Jiao's hair and beard fluttered. He struck out with the 9 degrees great Tao, creating a complete universe. Countless gods served the heaven court. Countless ghosts and deities formed an army of gods and demons. The Jade Emperor sat in the heaven court's numinous sky hall, ruling over the 3 realms. Countless immortal officers and generals stood in the heaven court. The 36 celestial palaces and 72 throne halls formed the majestic heaven court. Then, countless ghosts and deities served the Jade Emperor, operating the 4 seasons of the mortal world, judging good and evil. In the Yin Earth, the Yin god Yanluo judged the cycle of reincarnation, the order of ghosts and deities, living beings, and the great Tao. Zhang Jiao roared, "Peaceful world." Zhang Jiao's 9 degrees great Tao, creating a peaceful world. This was the supreme principle of Zhang Jiao's 9 degrees great Tao. He created the embryonic form of the mystic doors, heaven court, and Taoist universe. Zhonghuang Tai, bringing peace to the world. All of Zhang Jiao's arcane energy, his mortal body, Yuan Shen, bones, blood, soul, true spirit, Tai gold, imitating the true body formed by the innate gods, were all channeled into the 9 degrees great Tao, creating a universe. His Yuan Shen split into countless ghosts and deities. The highest one ruled himself and was called the Jade Emperor. His arcane energy turned into endless vital qi, creating the 3 realms. His true body opened up endless time and space, turning into a universe. Peaceful world, Jade Emperor Heaven Court, amidst the boundless karmic fire and the endless chaos. Zhang Jiao created a complete universe. With the primal chaos God Fiend's universe, his true body wasn't afraid of the power of the chaos. Although Zhang Jiao's true body's universe wasn't perfect, it could be self-sufficient and never be destroyed. The peaceful world that Zhang Jiao created, the Jade Emperor universe, had a lifespan in the chaos. Being constantly invaded by the chaos, the universe would one day be destroyed and Zhang Jiao would die. However, how long could a universe, even if it was not complete, have? Even if the blood-soaked demon lord used the red lotus of hellfire to accelerate the time sequence of the primal chaos, a universe still had an endless amount of time. A cataclysm lasted about 55 billion years, and the lifespan of the Jade Emperor universe was at least 120 cataclysm. Even if it was invaded by the karmic fire, causing internal chaos and the frequent tribulations, it was still a long time. The karmic fire burns, the red lotus blooms. With a turn of the Shui, Tu King, the endless karmic fire slowly extinguished. In the chaos, the power of order sprouted, opening up the chaos. A red lotus took root in the chaos and slowly bloomed. In the blink of an eye, the chaos was filled with red lotuses. A perfect great unity world that was far more perfect than the peaceful world. The Red Lotus universe was born. A wisp of the Red Lotus universe's might was released by the blooming Red Lotus. It swept through everything and was crushed by the perfect universe. In the blink of an eye, the Jade Emperor universe was riddled with holes. Cracks appeared, and it exploded with a bang. The Jade Emperor escaped from the universe and turned back into Zhang Jiao's Tai body. His face was pale, and he spat out a mouthful of golden blood. The red lotus landed on Zhang Jiao's head and turned into the size of a palm, locking him in place. Zhang Jiao could no longer resist. The Shui smiled and said, "I don't need you. The Jade Emperor's ambition is too great. He doesn't even give face to the patriarch. I think he will die sooner or later." Why don't you abandon the darkness and seek the light, cult Master Zhang? Zhang Jiao's expression was weary. He was injured and battered, but he kept his mouth shut and remained silent. Imperial Prince Bo Jun desperately urged his escape light. His magic power was extraordinary, and the speed of his escape light was not inferior to any Tai. Seeing that the gates of hell were right in front of him, Imperial Prince Bo Jun shouted, "Quickly open the gate! I am Bo Jun, the son of Imperial Emperor Ziyang. The underworld's demonic path has rebelled. Quickly open the gate and send me to the heavenly court. I will summon an army to suppress the rebellion." At the gate of the gates of hell, Shin Tu and Yu Lei looked at each other. Shin Tu picked his ear and said, "Big brother, do you hear someone shouting?" Yu Lei shook his head and said with a smile, "There is no one shouting." "Second brother, there must be something wrong with your ears." Great God Shin Tu nodded and said, "It should be the wandering souls of those who are unwilling to die in front of the Hell Gate. Since we are guarding the Hell Gate, we can't let a single person with evil intentions in, or even a single wandering soul out. We have contributed to the peace and harmony of the underworld." The two great gods were proud of themselves as they ignored the great, dark demon god Mo, Kudalo, who had destroyed the 9 hells, killed 3 of the 10 hells Yanluo, and blocked the entrance of the underworld's 10 hells. The river is clear, and the sea is calm. The underworld is at peace. Shin Tu sighed in admiration. Imperial Prince Bo Jun rushed to the gates of hell, but saw that the gates were closed and no one was opening them. He was furious and was about to rush forward and smash the gates open. But at that moment, an axe shadow flashed, and Imperial Prince Bo Jun's head flew off. The 6 young chiefs' head fell into the dust in front of the gates of hell. The noble heavenly prince's soul fell towards Yuta City and was swept up by the river of forgetfulness and sent into the cycle of reincarnation. Xingtian carried his axe and walked out of the darkness beside the gates of hell. He looked at the river Styx for a while, then walked towards the bridge of helplessness outside the gates of hell. Shin Tu and Yu Lei's expressions were the same as ever, as if nothing had happened. But after a while, a heavenly court army set foot on Mount Du Shua and came to the peach tree. A heavenly general stepped forward and said, "Imperial Emperor Ziyang has ordered us to investigate the underworld and quell the demonic path's rebellion." Shin Tu stood in front of the gates of hell with his axe in hand and said, "Nonsense! How could there be a rebellion in the underworld?" Great God Yu Lei also said, "We only know His Majesty the Emperor of Heaven and Her Highness Hudu, but we don't know Imperial Emperor Ziyang. Where did you come from? Go back. Don't throw your lives away in vain." Chapter 1333. When Xingtian stepped onto the bridge of helplessness, the world suddenly shook. The entire underworld of Yuta City shook. Even the river of forgetfulness under the bridge of helplessness surged with huge waves. The sky above the bridge of helplessness was empty. All the ghosts and deities who passed through here and entered reincarnation were swept into the river of forgetfulness and sent into reincarnation by this river Styx. The road to the underworld had collapsed. All the newly dead souls in untainted land would not be received by the road to the underworld, let alone the black and white impermanents and Een spirits, like the emissaries. Even people from the 10 halls of Yanluo had died, let alone these insignificant Een spirits. Untainted land was vast and boundless. Countless souls entered the underworld every second. Now, these souls were drawn by the river Styx and fell into the river Styx. They were either washed clean by the heaven Styx or sent into the Een soil to be nurtured or disintegrated into reincarnation. Xingtian stared coldly at the countless souls floating in the river of forgetfulness. Their karmic karma, love and hate were washed away, dyeing the river of forgetfulness a murky yellow. Threads of karmic karma, love and hate nourished the spider lilies on both sides of the river, making the blood-red sea of flowers bloom even more beautifully. By the river of forgetfulness, the spider lilies bloomed. The blood-red spider lilies were only the size of a palm, but there were thousands of them. They flowed along the tributaries of the river of forgetfulness all over the e'en soil of the netherworld, like ribbons on both sides of the murky yellow river Styx. When the lone souls, wild ghosts, evil ghosts, and remnant souls that wandered on the dark land of the netherworld saw the sea of spider lilies, they seemed to lose their souls. They walked into the sea of flowers, and the evil energy and resentment on their bodies were sucked away by the spider lilies beside them, leaving behind a pure soul that floated in the river of forgetfulness in the surging netherworld river. On the other side of the bridge of helplessness, a monstrous sea of blood drowned the underworld. Endless true water of the blood sea gushed out from the darkness of the void and attacked the 10 nether halls. The 10 ancient bronze halls were in danger under the impact of the sea of blood. In Yuta City, there was only darkness and the endless sea of blood. The 10 ancient bronze halls struggled to withstand the sea of blood. They emitted a faint light to resist the huge waves of the sea of blood. The monstrous waves were like mountains hundreds of millions of meters high. Countless devils rode the waves to attack the bronze palace. Each wave was like a world. There were countless devils from the Blood Sea, Azura tribes, and evil creatures from the Blood Sea. They were armed with devil weapons and divine weapons. Although their army was chaotic, their strength was not to be underestimated. Hundreds of millions of devils were at the level of immortals. The devils that had achieved immortal primordial divinity were densely packed like ants. The light emitted by the ancient bronze halls propped up a universe in the endless sea of blood. Each ray of light was a world, a divine realm. In it, there was the e'en soil of the netherworld. It was like the e'en soil of the netherworld, where the resources that the underworld had secretly accumulated over the years were laid to rest. Each world was filled with countless powerful ancestors of the demon race, evil ghosts, and the souls and primordial divinities of cultivators that had fallen into the underworld. They were carefully selected by the underworld. Their powerful souls were secretly arranged by the 10 halls Yanluo to be reincarnated into the small worlds controlled by the underworld. They were the nether soldiers and divine generals of the underworld. Each of them was extremely powerful, and their combat strength was comparable to that of immortals. There were tens of trillions of worlds in the underworld that could accommodate their reincarnation. The ancient bronze halls were like the halls of the Purple Cloud Palace. They were made up of countless worlds that were privately controlled by the underworld. The 10 ancient halls were 10 universes. The embryonic form of the chaotic fiend god body was a hall built by countless worlds. Every wave of the sea of blood carried countless devils into the void. When the countless universes in the light were hit by the sea of blood, countless rivers of blood appeared and spread to the small world. Then, countless devils from the blood sea were teleported out of the rivers of blood. They raised their devil weapons and summoned supreme magic, slaughtering countless creatures in the small world and destroying their world. The waves of the sea of blood were endless. Every time they hit, the light on the ancient bronze hall dimmed a little. Then Yanluo, who was hidden in the ancient hall, drove the cycle of reincarnation. He sent the souls that died in the hands of the devils from the blood sea to the core of the bronze hall before they could be demonized. They were reborn in other worlds. Even some worlds that were not completely eroded by the blood sea or destroyed by the demonic Tao were reborn by the bronze hall. The war of the blood sea eroding the 10 ancient halls lasted only 2 hours in the primordial time sequence. However, in those worlds of sand, countless worlds had been born and destroyed. Countless devils from the blood sea slaughtered all living beings to prove the Tao and the demonic Tao. Countless devils and evil creatures destroyed a world to prove the Tao and the demonic king. Countless worlds of salvation protected a small world under the erosion of the devils in every instant. Taoists who obtained the will of heaven and the will of man were born and were guided into the hall by the bronze hall. However, there were hundreds of times more devils and evil creatures. They either slaughtered all living beings or destroyed worlds to prove the Tao and the demonic king. The Shui, two kings, stood on the blood sea and calculated the foundation of the netherworld. He sighed and said, "The netherworld has a deep foundation. If this continues before we drive the blood sea to destroy the 10 ancient halls of the netherworld, there will be more than 100,000 Taoists born in each hall. Each of them will be the children of Providence who have gathered the essence of one, or even a few, or even dozens of small worlds. The forbidden mystical ability of the netherworld Samsara Hall is indeed terrifying." Ajati sneered and said, "This is just the potential of the souls of countless living beings in the infinite world created by the 10 ancient halls when we drive the blood sea to destroy the 10 ancient halls of the netherworld. The world-destroying calamity causes the Taoists in it to explode thousands of times. Do you think that the Yenluo of the netherworld usually doesn't use the 10 bronze samsara halls? The netherworld is an important place for the living beings of the primordial world to reincarnate. There is no lack of souls. It is easy for the other Dara and the Buddhists to create the infinite sand world to create a world, but it is extremely difficult to create souls and give birth to living beings with powerful origins. As for the Yenluo, it is an important place for reincarnation. Just a little bit of it can fill countless small worlds. As long as they let those souls with great potential and have Tao in their previous lives reincarnate in their small worlds, wouldn't it be easy to nurture Taoists? Even the countless living beings in the small worlds can create countless living beings as long as they have a little bit of the reincarnation of the living beings of the primordial world. It can be said that the netherworld is the only place that can create worlds endlessly without worrying about the lack of souls. The 10 ancient halls of Yenluo have ruled the netherworld for countless eons. Who knows how many worlds they have created and how many living beings they have reared? Why did the mystic door Buddhists let Qinghua Empress and Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva stay here? Isn't it to plunder the soul elites of all living beings? The Buddhists call it good faith, while the mystic door call it planting people. Since the Buddhists used karma, and the mystic door used their foundation to tamper with the law of reincarnation, one's Tao can be carried along with reincarnation. A cultivator with a foundation, a bodhisattva, will inherit the Tao of his previous life after reincarnation. The chances of attaining Tao are 100 times higher than that of a pure genius. It is better than all resources. High-quality souls are the best assets of the primordial world. Those primordial immortals have the characteristics of grand immortals. Everyone keeps a close eye on them, but ordinary Tao lords are a dime a dozen. The 10 halls of Yenluo have nurtured countless Taoists to occupy such an important place. Although these Taoists from the eternal sands world are inherently weak, much weaker than the golden immortals from the primordial world who attains Tao, but those who can become Taoists are all geniuses. If they are promoted to the primordial world to recomprehend the Tao, they should not be underestimated. Ajati clasped his hands behind his back and said to Shui, too, "Didn't we also attain Tao from the age of heavens and go against the primordial world? And that Brahma Wujia, is he any weaker than the primordial world's natives?" Shui, too, shook his head and said, "We are the heirs of the fiend path. Although the age of heavens is lacking in resources, and its vitality is much weaker than the primordial world. The heavens and realms were formed from the fragments of the primordial world, and have preserved nearly half of the primordial world's essence. Moreover, although the laws of the heavenly realm sea have changed from the primordial world, they are not incomplete. The primordial world is like a rich continent, and the heavens are the islands of broken continents, and these interstitial worlds and the eternal sands world are just a world of sand. The Buddhist kingdom in the palm, the cosmos in the sleeve, the sun and moon in the pot. They are just like playthings in our hands. The primordial world is an ocean, and the heavens are countless ponds and lakes, connected by a great river. These interstitial worlds are just fish tanks, and these small fish tanks can only contain goldfishes, not true dragons." Ajati nodded and said, "You have a point. Even if Yenluo intercepts the souls of the primordial world with the foundation and cultivation of the Tao and reincarnates them in these interstitial worlds, they will not achieve more than they did in their previous lives. On the contrary, their foundation will be worn down. Just like raising a dragon in a fish tank, it will definitely become useless. But Yenluo of the 10 halls is quite creative. Ajati laughed and said, "Look, they used the law of transmigration to forge the bronze palace into a marvelous acquired spiritual treasure, connecting the countless interstitial worlds in an ingenious way. Using the law of transmigration, the seeds of the Tao Lords they chose will be reincarnated in these interstitial worlds, and their true spirits will not be concealed. It is equivalent to using these interstitial worlds as the foundation, selecting the seeds, and then planting them at fixed points, using the endless interstitial worlds to temper and test them. The seeds of the Tao Lords will be reincarnated in these interstitial worlds, fighting and killing each other, like raising venomous insects, selecting the strongest and bringing them to the core of the palace of transmigration, which is equivalent to the medium-class world of Buddhism, to be nurtured. Finally, they will be sent to hell or the netherworld to temper themselves and comprehend the great Tao of the primordial world. In this way, the billions of living beings in the primordial world select the best seeds, germinate and nurture them in the barren interstitial world, and when the seedlings grow to a certain extent, they will be transplanted to a larger, more fertile land, and finally released into the primordial underworld. Among the 3 realms, although the netherworld is the world with the most biased law and the weakest essence, it is not inferior to the heavenly age. No wonder Yenluo of the 10 halls dares to look down on elder ancestor. The netherworld is blessed by the heavens, and the talents they nurture may not be inferior to our diabolism, intercepting the souls of all living beings for their own selfishness. The Shui, 2 king, laughed sinisterly. They should be killed. Ajati also sighed and said, "These interstitial worlds are created in the netherworld, and the creation of living beings in them is already lacking in essence. Moreover, they have been refined by Yenluo with the law of transmigration, so they are not real worlds. They should be considered a part of hell, an endless little hell. In the endless little hell, they breed ghosts, make them fight each other, and select the strongest among them, refining a tyrannical nether army that has accumulated immeasurable tribulations. The Yenluo of the 10 halls are extremely ambitious and powerful. With this elite army that is not inferior to any of the heavenly soldiers in the heavenly court, it is indeed not a fluke that Yenluo can sit on the position of the master of the netherworld. Yenjun and the others are still too short-sighted." Ajati laughed coldly, and his divine will communicated with an innate divine light that was overflowing with murderous aura. He revealed a cruel, ferocious, and bloody smile, and said, "If you think that you can challenge the most evil, most terrifying, most insane, most heartless, inhuman, and heinous demon ancestor of the Fiend League just because of this, how laughable! Ha ha ha! How preposterous! You don't understand the Patriarch at all. You don't understand how terrifying the Patriarch is. Mere Tao Lords and Golden Immortals. When the Patriarch challenged the limits of creation, even primordial immortals and terrifying evil beings with the characteristics of Dara, he could casually create clans, let alone Tao Lords. Selecting the seeds of Tao Lords? Ha ha ha! The Fiend League stopped playing after all. We were all directly transformed and reincarnated into those terrifying monsters created by the demon ancestor, or infected by those evil beings. If you want to become a Tao Lord, just dive into the Blood Sea and take a look at those things sealed there. Haha, but there's no guarantee that you'll still be you. In terms of seeking power and taking shortcuts, who can compare to us Fiend League? If you want to train elites, say so earlier. We have one. 2 billion rapid mastery techniques, all of which are marvelous, but all of which are extremely evil. So what if you become a Tao Lord in a day? As long as you're ruthless enough, even Dara can be achieved in a day. It's just that the other great mediums refuse to admit that it's Dara. When the three pure ones of the mystic door and the patriarch of the Buddhist League discussed the Tao, they all said that those are evil beings. It's just that the form of their existence is a bit strange, but their power is real. How can they be considered evil beings of the Fiend League? Ajadi began to laugh wildly. Dara is nothing more than a characteristic, an objective principle. No matter what method you use to achieve it, it's only a matter of course, isn't it? Ha ha ha. Ha 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 ha. Unfortunately, the other powerful mediums didn't agree with the patriarch's opinion. They made it so that those Dara monsters wouldn't be able to acquire the innate, inextinguishable spiritual light, and so they could only be considered evil beings with the characteristics of Dara. Otherwise, the patriarch would have created the Dara species long ago. The 9 questions of the netherworld. What is the true self? What do you think is the most taboo of all? Breaking the laws of the netherworld? Defying samsara? These are all minor matters. The true taboo is change. If you give up enough, if you change enough, any state can be achieved in a single step. Yenluo, you're a mere guardian hound of the netherworld, and yet you were able to create so many Tao Lords who quickly became Tao Lords. Why is it that the Fiend Kings of the Fiend Tao all seem to have been trained properly? Even if you have forbidden techniques, you still have to pay an enormous price. That's because those who truly become Tao Lords, those who truly train in those forbidden demonic Taos for the sake of power, have all gone mad. Ha! Ajadi laughed maniacally. That's because they've gone mad to an incomprehensible level. That's why you can't see them. The demonic Tao of annihilation, the demonic Tao of slaughter, the demonic Tao of plucking, blood refining, soul refining, bone extraction, bedevilment, to truly become powerful in the demonic Tao. All you need to do is change yourself. You can summon evil beings that the demon ancestor has modified and become part of them. What's the big deal about reaching the heavens in a single step? As long as you're a freak of nature, you can become infinitely more powerful. Ajadi let out a bone-chilling cackle as his fingernails slowly elongated and sharpened. His ribs opened up, piercing through his chest like a spider opening its legs. More than 20 of his ribs opened up, piercing through the skin on his back and clawing towards the ground. His 4 limbs moved in the opposite direction, clawing towards the ground as well. His skull was lifted up like a lid, revealing his spine. At this moment, the exposed spine was like a scabbard, and the neck bone was the handguard that held the hilt. Stuck in his spine was a ghastly white sword that would cause one's soul to scatter with a single glance, the sword of slaughter. Even the bloody-soaked Demon King was shocked by the change of the lifeless cult master. Shui too said in shock, I heard that in the demonic Tao of slaughter there's an evil method to cultivate oneself into the scabbard of Yuan-Tu, called the Yuan-Tu White Bone Case Sword Demon. Those madmen of the demonic Tao of slaughter believe that the highest achievement in the demonic Tao of slaughter is to cultivate oneself into a demonic weapon of slaughter. Every part of one's existence is used for killing, something that exists specifically for killing. This kind of thing can be an acquired spiritual treasure, a zombie, a demon beast, a demon, an evil being, anything as long as it exists specifically for killing. And among those madmen, the craziest group believes that it's too difficult to cultivate oneself into a peerless demonic weapon of slaughter. Instead of refining yourself into a demonic weapon that's neither good nor bad, why not become a part of the ultimate killing weapon that represents the demonic Tao of massacre? And there's only one ultimate killing weapon that represents the demonic Tao of massacre, the Yuan Massacre Sword. So, instead of becoming a demonic weapon of slaughter, why not become a part of the Yuan-Tu sword? Ajadi laughed strangely. That's right. The old ancestor's sword is our sword. Brother Shui, too. Wait for me outside the door for a while. The lifeless hierarch was like a huge spider. His limbs were extremely long, and his ribs were dozens of short legs. These bone legs carried the scabbard of his spine and crawled towards the second bronze palace. The lifeless hierarch used all 4 limbs to crawl on the door of the bronze palace. His ribs and short legs clawed at the gap of the door for a while, and actually opened a small gap. Then he crawled into the bronze palace through the gap of the door. Not long after, King Chujiang's scream came from inside the bronze palace. Crunch, crunch, gulp, gulp. The strange sound of bones being chewed came from inside the palace. Not far from the door, Shui, Two King's hair stood on end. He didn't know what else King Chujiang, who had lost his physical body and was only left with the innate, indestructible aura to manage the ancient bronze palace. What bones could the perverted Ajati chew? Inside the second bronze palace, Ajati, who was lying on a body in the dark, reached out his hand and grabbed the hilt of the sword on his spine. Then, in the next moment, a sword beam tore apart the bronze palace, along with the countless specks of light surrounding it and the indestructible ancient bronze palace. The Yuan-Tu sword instantly destroyed countless small hellish worlds, and the specks of light outside the 10 ancient bronze palaces were instantly extinguished. The sea of blood carried countless demonic creatures and slammed against the door of the bronze palace. In the depths of the sea of blood, the green-haired Taoist master of corpse demon was holding a judge's brush that was suppressed by the sea of blood. A headless giant came walking on the sea of blood, walking straight into the 10th palace. The Chakra King stood in the palace, facing Xingtian, who came with an axe, and sighed faintly, "Great Xingtian God." Xingtian didn't say anything. With a flash of the axe, the holy wheel was split open, and the axe plunged into the Chakra King's chest. As if he didn't feel the axe plunged into his chest, the Chakra King smiled and said, "Since it is the wish of Queen Hutu, we can only follow it. Good and evil will be rewarded, and the cycle of karma is the only way to perfect the reincarnation and comply with the wishes of all living beings. When the Dharma of Buddhism is spread throughout the untainted land, and all living beings revere the Dharma, I will come back to discuss this issue with Queen." Xingtian said in a low voice, "Queen gave you a chance, but you let her see this result. So, this is the answer." Xingtian pulled out the axe and chopped off the Chakra King's head. Chapter 1334. Xingtian strode forward. In the underworld, countless ghosts and deities perished. The aura of the destruction of countless Sans realms triggered the boundless evil chi of the Blood Sea. Behind Xingtian's headless figure, the evil chi condensed into an incomparably tall fiend god with a copper head and an iron forehead. The fiend god waved his 9 arms and swept the weapons in his hands, mincing the elite ghost soldiers in the 10th palace into pieces. The ghost deities that the Samsara Palace cultivated through countless Sans realms, each of which was comparable to a Tao Lord, were all slaughtered by the fiend god's shadow. Their deaths were incomparably easy. With the evil chi of the Blood Sea as the foundation, and the countless ghosts and deities who laid the formation, but were slaughtered by Yin Yang as the sacrifice, summoning the weapon Grandmaster Chiyu to the world. Xingtian broke through the 10th palace and turned to walk into the 9th palace. At this moment, the doors of the 8th and 7th palaces suddenly opened at the same time. King Taishan and King Dusher joined forces to attack. King Dusher's divine body had been severely injured by Yin Yang, and his mana was almost exhausted. Moreover, with the appearance of the Lord of Yuta City, the evil demon ancestor, and the destruction of hell controlled by Yanluo of the 10 palaces, the great Tao and the law of reincarnation of Yuta City had long been out of their control. Instead, under the control of the evil demon ancestor, it was devouring them. Now they could only sacrifice this divine body and fight until all their physical bodies, mana, primordial spirit, and divine territory were shattered except for the innate, inextinguishable spiritual light. They risked their lives to hold back Xingtian and protect the underworld that was about to be destroyed. The 3 Yanluo exerted all their strength. The elite ghost soldiers they led were extremely powerful. Although they were not the 3 first palace, 5th palace, and 6th palace that possessed innate spiritual treasures, the combined forces of Yanluo, King Pingdeng, King Dusher, and King Taishan still had the power to destroy the world. Just their physical bodies alone were almost indestructible. Die! Xingtian bellowed. The simple and unadorned bronze axe in his hand burst forth with endless divine light. He held the axe with both hands, and his entire divine body used the bronze axe as the axis. All the strength in his body was gathered at one point, and the axe shadow was like lightning. In an instant, it cleaved the King of Equality. The axe mark came down from the King of Equality's forehead, splitting him into two. His corporeal body, magic power, vital chi, and divine soul were all turned into chaos under this axe strike. Then, in the midst of the primal chaos, along with the axe trace, the primal chaos chi was opened up. On the cut surface of the Equality King's corporeal body, yin and yang rose and spun like the taiji. Then, the taiji's clear air rose and the turbid air sank. The clear air rose and turned into deep darkness, while the turbid air sank and turned into a land of yin soil. That yin land carried an ancient bronze palace and floated in the blood sea, forming a world of its own. The innate, inextinguishable divine light of the Equality King was trapped in that world of heaven. With a swing of his axe, Xingtian opened up the Equality King's body into a world of heaven. As the spirit of creation, the inextinguishable divine light of the Equality King was naturally trapped in that world of heaven. Unless that world of heaven was destroyed, it would be difficult to escape. Xingtian's subordinates killed Dara like slaughtering a chicken. He raised his axe again. King Dusher was scared out of his wits. He shouted, "Xingtian, why are you going with us? You can be your ancient god of sorcerer, and I'll be my emperor Yanluo. What have we done to offend you?" King Dusher retreated and was about to flee towards the bridge of helplessness. A terrifying thunderbolt emerged in Xingtian's eyes. The thunderbolt seemed to originate from the bronze axe in his hand. It was a terrifying thunderbolt hacked out by the bronze axe, but it seemed to only exist in Xingtian's eyes. Wherever the thunderbolt went, the void was split into primordial chaos, and all vitality was transformed into the most essential yin and yang. As the yin and yang revolved, terrifying thunderbolts sprouted. This thunderbolt was only the surface. First, an axe mark streaked across the void, returning all space-time, vitality, matter, and thoughts back to the moment when heaven and earth were about to be created. Yin and yang were born. But before they could be separated, the separated yin and yang were separated by the pressure of the entire universe due to the intolerable relationship between the laws of the universe. The violent friction between yin and yang produced a terrifying thunderbolt. The speed of this thunderbolt was incredibly fast. In the blink of an eye, it swept past King Dusher's divine body. As if witnessing an unimaginable horror, King Dusher wailed, "Du Tian Thunder! Pangu clans, Du Tian Thunder!" Then, in the blink of an eye, it was shattered by the Du Tian Thunder and exploded into the void, opening up the boundless and extremely vast space of Yuta City for hundreds of millions of miles. The space of the underworld suddenly increased by nearly a quarter. At this time, the Yuenta sword had already killed Emperor Song and arrived. Among the 10 ancient bronze palaces, only the 4th King Wuguan, the 5th King Yanluo, and the 7th King Taishan were left. King Taishan and King Wuguan were crowding around King Yanluo, unable to advance or retreat between the Yuan-Tu, Sword Kesajati, and the headless demon god Xingtian. Unknowingly, a wisp of spirituality appeared in the eyes of Chio's Dharma form. His 9 arms struck down at the same time, condensing 9 earth-shattering demon weapon phantoms to kill King Wuguan. In an instant, King Yanluo didn't even have time to rescue King Taishan, and King Taishan couldn't even protect himself. Yuan-Tu sword blocked in front of King Taishan. King Taishan didn't dare to take even half a step forward. Behind him, the Xingtian sword came chopping down with Ganqi. King Taishan had no way out. He stood where he was, laughing bitterly 3 times. Under the horrified gazes of the surviving Yin deities and evil ghosts of the underworld, all traces of their existence were cut off by Xingtian's Du Tian Thunder Axe and its origin integrated into Yuta City. A ray of innate, inextinguishable spiritual light fled, but was caught by the darkness surrounding Udacity and sealed in the great dark prison. Ajati's hand was already holding Yuanta's sword. He laughed softly and said, "The ancestor asked me to send his regards to Yanluo King, and to send Yanjun on his way." King Yanluo didn't show any anger on his face. Instead, there was a hint of sorrow on his face. He laughed loudly and said, "River Styx can kill people at midnight, and Yanluo can't stay until midnight either. Ancestor River Styx, what a grand scheme you've laid out. We, the 10 palaces, Yanluo, the underworld, this important place of reincarnation, has actually been within your calculations all along? Ha! With the evil demon ancestor bred by the darkness of Udacity, the underworld is indeed just a place where you, River Styx, can take life and death. At this point, is I, the king of Yanluo, not worthy of your personal attack?" King Yanluo lamented. With the 12th tier red lotus of hellfire in his hand, Shui, 2 King walked slowly to the king of Yanluo and said, "You're not worthy of my ancestor's personal attack." The blood demon and killing demon lineages of the evil Dao sent out 2 good-for-nothings to distract you, while the Dao master of corpse demon personally assisted, Yin Yang demon master as the vanguard, and the 2 grand magi, Xingtian and Chiyu, to finish the job. Yanluo of the 10 palaces, your death should be worth it. The king of Yanluo threw his head back and laughed maniacally. Before his laughter died away, the violent echoes of the Du Tian thunder swept across the underworld, instantly shattering countless remaining ghosts and deities and completely wiping out the underworld of Udacity. The Dao master of corpse demon quietly emerged from the blood sea with the judge's brush in his arms. He nodded at Wu Sheng and Chiyu, indicating that the last Yanluo, King Qingguang of the first palace, had also been suppressed. Xingtian sent the innate, inextinguishable divine aura of the rest of the Yanluo of the 10 palaces into the darkness of Udacity. The black tide rolled, and the innate, inextinguishable divine aura of the 9 Dara were instantly suppressed into the great dark hell, becoming the companions of those indescribable and extremely terrifying evil beings. Some of the 10 broken ancient bronze palaces were only pierced through, and some were almost completely destroyed, but now they had all been wiped out. Without the suppression of the 10 ancient bronze palaces, the land of reincarnation was finally revealed after the 10 Yanluo of the 10 palaces were completely destroyed. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, who was sitting on a red lotus above the blood sea, suddenly lowered his brows, put his palms together, and sighed silently. River Styx, who was sitting opposite Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, chuckled and asked, "Now that hell has been pacified and all the evil spirits have been slaughtered, there will no longer be hell. Bodhisattva, you can rest assured and become a Buddha now." Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva shook his head, unable to bear it, and said, "Although the hell of Udacity is empty, the human heart is like a prison. How can the evil spirits in the hearts of all living beings be empty? The hell of hell is empty, but when will the evil spirits in the hearts of all living beings be empty?" River Styx smiled and said, "The evil spirits in the hearts of all living beings are ruled by the demon ancestor. Bodhisattva, you don't have to worry about it. There will always be a pure land in the hearts of all living beings, but the evil spirits will never disappear. Otherwise, wouldn't all living beings be too boring? Since Bodhisattva has made a vow, if hell is not empty, he will not become a Buddha. They should keep their promises." Talking about how the human heart is like a prison, do you want me to slaughter all living beings in the primordial world to help Bodhisattva achieve Tao? As soon as River Styx finished speaking, he stood up impatiently, waved to the side, and said, "Monkey King!" Monkey carried the Jingu Bang and stood up. River Styx nodded and said, "Send Bodhisattva on his way. The road to the Western Paradise is long, and Bodhisattva wants to become a Buddha as soon as possible, so I need you to send me on my way." Monkey grinned and said, "Bodhisattva, do you want me to send you off, or do you want to free yourself?" Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was silent for a while. Then he raised his head and asked, "Ancestor, what are your plans for the underworld? The underworld has been destroyed, so how will the devil path rebuild it?" River Styx waved his hand and said, "If the primordial world is destroyed, the underworld will also be destroyed. From now on, there will only be reincarnation, and there will be no underworld." Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva lowered his head, and after a while, she sighed and stood up from the red lotus. She held up her staff, and the 9 rings shook, making a melodious golden sound. It had a faint Buddha nature, and it rang in the ears of the Devil Path's devil masters who were sitting around. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva tapped lightly with her staff, and the Devil Prince could not sit still on the lotus throne. He fell backward, avoiding Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's finger. "Karma and reincarnation, and saving all living beings, is my great wish. Please forgive me for not agreeing with your arrangements for the underworld." Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva leaned on his staff and said, "Come and fight! To fight and vanquish demons is also my great wish." Behind Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was the image that represented the vow of the Buddhas and Bodhisattva. The Samadhi form appeared silently, representing Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's great netherworld vow. It was a lianhua with the 4 meanings of equality, the original vow, the removal of obstacles, and the awakening. On the lianhua was the Rui treasure pagoda, and in her right hand the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva shone brightly. The lianhua stood on the ground and turned into the womb, realm mandala. Above the boundless sea of blood, a golden lotus formed the womb, realm mandala, and Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva sat in it holding a staff. The 9 rings on the staff were wailing, and endless Sanskrit chanting accompanied by the light of the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva spread in all directions. In the sea of blood, countless asuras, blood sea monsters, evil spirits, and evil spirits heard the chanting and saw the light, as if they had heard the supreme wonder and were immersed in it. River Styx looked on coldly from the side, watching as the Buddha's Dharma continuously purified the living beings of the devil path in the sea of blood, who were crippled by the 3 poisons and whose evil nature had seeped into their bones. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's left and right little fingers and ring fingers were joined together and straightened. His middle finger was vertically attached to the side of the ring finger, and his head was about 2 inches apart. His 2 head fingers were placed on the back of the middle finger, and his head was the upper joint, and his 2 big fingers were bent into his palm. His head was holding the middle joint of the 2 ring fingers, and his 2 wrists were facing each other, with the base of his 2 wrists facing up. His palm was downward incantation. It was the sweet dew seal. The Rui treasure pagoda on Lianhua swept across, and the countless evil spirits and souls in the surrounding sea of blood were sucked out. The various evil appearances were hit by the sweet dew seal, and drops of sweet dew sprinkled down, nourishing the souls of the 3 poisons. However, the souls of the blood sea monsters were not tainted by the devil after birth, but by River Styx's creation. If it was only the souls of living beings in the chaos that were demonized, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's actions would have purified countless evil spirits. However, River Styx did not deliberately distort, demonize, or contaminate the monsters by creating the monsters. Instead, his way of establishing a foothold was extremely twisted, causing the innate nature of these monsters to go against the life of the chaos. Therefore, the evil, greed, obsession, and anger of these monsters all came from their nature. Under the sweet dew seal, the countless monsters became even more twisted, following their nature, and began to distort Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Only then did Bodhisattva completely give up. He shook his head and said, "My cultivation is too shallow. I can't get rid of the devil barrier created by elder ancestor." With a strike of the staff in his right hand, the countless devil souls were crushed. However, among the devil souls, there were many evil spirits of the anti-living, extremely distorted blood sea monsters. Not only did the crushing of the souls not destroy them, but they also took the opportunity to devour the shattered devil souls of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, strengthening them. A wriggling monster with countless claws, like the tentacles of an octopus, a spider, a crab, and countless multi-legged animals in the boundless world gathered together. It stretched out countless tentacles and attacked Mandala from the womb realm. Monkey King picked up the golden cudgel and laughed. Bodhisattva has tried for so long, but have you ever gotten rid of the devil barrier of this blood sea? To tell you the truth, I am also very annoyed by these ghostly things. If I can get rid of them, I should get rid of them as soon as possible. But I don't think Bodhisattva can get rid of them. My uncle master has said that the road to the west is far, so he asked me to send Bodhisattva on his way as soon as possible. Bodhisattva, I'm sorry. The golden cudgel in Monkey King's hand turned into countless shadows, striking towards Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva raised his staff and blocked the strike of Monkey King that tore Mandala's womb realm apart. The countless shadows of the staff hit the staff, causing it to tremble. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's hand trembled and almost lost it. Monkey King struck again, but Bodhisattva did not dare to block it. He drove Lianhua to take a step back. This step separated the two realms, causing Monkey King's strike to miss. Bodhisattva thought to himself, this monkey is so fierce. I can't take his staff. After failing to hit it again and again, he became fierce. It's even more troublesome. I need to kill it. Then he secretly took out the orb and waited for the third strike from the Monkey King. The Bodhisattva shook the wishful treasure pagoda, and countless shadows of the pagoda dazzled the Monkey King's eyes. Suddenly, he struck the Ksitigarbha orb and hit the top of the Monkey King's head. The Monkey King was hit by the pearl, and he suddenly felt very lazy. He couldn't muster up any energy, and all he wanted was to be a salted fish, basking in the sun and scratching lice. He barely managed to raise his spirits, but the staff he swung out lost its momentum and was easily blocked by Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. The two of them fought for a few rounds. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's hands were tightly guarded, and there was no gap between them. This kind of soft but very tough fighting style made Wukong more and more unable to raise his fighting spirit. River Styx saw everything clearly and thought to himself, this Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva really has some tricks up her sleeves. If she were to use force, she would definitely not be able to beat the Monkey King. But if she were to use force, she wouldn't be able to muster up any energy. She would be extremely troublesome. After fighting for a long time, when he couldn't muster up any energy, he would probably get impatient and slack off. River Styx rolled his eyes and suddenly pointed at the monster. Instantly, the monster rolled on the ground and turned into a huge drum. The countless devil eyes on the drum opened and shot out rays of light of calamity. The drum vibrated, and countless worlds of destruction appeared in the blood sea. Then there was the ear-piercing sound of copper being plucked, playing the prelude to the end of the universe. Swona, pipa, shangshao flute. Countless strange and ear-piercing instrumental music filled the blood sea. It was solemn, but also crazy and twisted. When Monkey King heard this symphony of the destruction of the universe, he instantly felt an inexplicable annoyance. His golden first stood up, and he gripped the golden cudgel in his hand tightly. The Monkey King shook the golden cudgel in his hand, and countless shadows of the cudgel appeared. One of the cudgel hit the wishful scepter, and the Mandala's womb realm was destroyed. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva took out the orb again. River Styx pointed, and the orb lowered by 3 inches, hitting the Monkey King's face. At this moment, the orb's light suddenly dimmed, and it hit the Monkey King's face, causing him to shiver in pain. Monkey King raised his head coldly and wiped the blood from his nose. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's hand, which was holding the orb, froze. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva said softly, "Great sage, this is just a misunderstanding." Monkey King's face was filled with killing intent. When he raised the golden cudgel, it had already caused the blood sea to tremble. creating huge waves that were countless feet tall. In the center of the blood sea, a roar could be heard when he swung the cudgel. The heavens and the earth shattered. Chapter 1335. The underworld of Yuta City had already been submerged in the sea of blood. Countless ruins of ancient palaces and the remains of innumerable gods, demons, and ghosts were all submerged in the sea of blood. The ancient bronze hall, where the 10 Yenluo temples were located, was in ruins. All was silent. The agitation of the sea of blood had subsided, and the demons that were slaughtering everywhere had also stopped. The Shui, 2 King, and Ajadi stood on the ruins of the ancient bronze hall, gazing at the path to Samsara. The Xingtian had already entered this path. From now on, Samsara would sink into the darkness of Yuta City. When the underworld, along with the inner earth of the netherworld outside, shattered, the darkness of Yuta City would sink into the ultimate, and Samsara would be hidden deep within. From then on, whether it was the prehistoric times or the coming age of heavens, the souls of all living beings would fall into the river Styx after they died, and the river Styx would eventually flow into the ultimate and the great darkness heaven, sending countless souls into Samsara. In the future, the great darkness heaven would be in the ultimate, in the same place as the great freedom heaven. The ultimate is indeed the number 1 burial ground in the heavens. There are too many secrets buried here. The Shui, 2 Kings, said lightly, back when we were in the ultimate, we already suspected that Samsara might be hidden there. Who would have thought that we might have brushed shoulders with it? Ajadi had already recovered his original appearance of a stern sword immortal, but his face was a little pale, as if he had yet to recover from a serious injury. He coughed twice and said with a smile, "It is our fortune to have brushed shoulders with it. Don't forget, Samsara will be hidden in the great darkness heaven. The darkness in the ultimate is perhaps one of the most terrifying places in the heavens and realms. It suppresses the innate, inextinguishable spiritual light of the 9 Yenluo gods and seals countless evil spirits. Half of the evil demon ancestor's consciousness, the demon ancestor, is in the great freedom heaven, and the other half, the great darkness hell, is also in the ultimate. Besides the Avicii sword, which is still in the hands of the elder ancestor, the ultimate can be said to hide more than half of the evil demon ancestor. In addition to the destruction demon ancestor Ro sealed in the core of the ultimate, half of the evil demon ancestor's power is in the ultimate. People say that we have the ancestors of destruction and slaughter, but today the evil demon ancestor of the underworld of Yuta City has appeared. Only then do we know that we originally had 3 ancestors, the evil, slaughter, and destruction demon ancestor. The blood-soaked demon lord shook his head and sneered, "Mok Jalua." This is the name given to the evil demon, lord by the Buddhists and the evil beings. In the evil demon ancestor has its own title, the Star of Darkness Ketu. River Styx, Ketu, and Ro are the 3 ancestors of the evil demon ancestor. They are not inferior to the 3 venerables of the mystic door. As the lifeless cult master spoke, he suddenly started coughing violently. He was an experienced Tai, someone who was half a step into the grand heavenly realm. Yet he was coughing like a mortal who was suffering from tuberculosis. He coughed out some dark red fragments. The blood-soaked demon monarch could not help but feel his scalp go numb when he saw how he looked like he was about to die. "Are you all right?" "I won't die." Ajadi wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "When the Yuan-Tu sword entered my body, the sword energy that could kill anything hurt my lungs. But if I refine this sword energy, I will be closer to the essence of the Yuan-Tu sword, and my Yuan-Tu bone sword box will be able to improve to the next level." The Shui, 2 King, was silent for a while, then suddenly asked. Sandu became the carrier of the evil demon ancestor, and went through the forbidden method of turning into an evil being. "I wonder if he can still turn back?" Ajadi smiled bitterly and said, "I hope he has the luck. The ancestor still needs him. He should help him turn back." Otherwise, it would be a pity for an interesting person like Sandu to turn into a lunatic like Qiu Yinyang. Yes, Sandu is an interesting person. The Shui Tu king looked up into the distance. In the great darkness heaven, although the 10 temples of Yanluo had been destroyed, Yanluo was not the only lord of underworld. Qiu Yinyang, or the evil demon ancestor, was now going to deal with another lord of underworld who was even stronger than Yanluo, Fengdu the Great. Fengdu the Great established Yidu Heaven, and under his rule were the 5 ghost emperors who established Mount Guizhong, Mount Luoho, Mount Luofu, Mount Paodu, and Fengdu City. Mount Luoho's 6th heavenly palace was in Mount Luoho. This great emperor of Bane was not the trash like the 10 temples of Yanluo. The great emperor was happy to watch the devil Dao kill 10 temples of Yanluo, but if the devil Dao wanted to destroy the underworld and completely destroy the lineage of Yin God, he might not agree. Therefore, after the evil demon ancestor descended, he did not even deal with 10 temples of Yanluo, but immediately set off to deal with him. In the underworld, there were only 3 people who could really be called great mediums: Tai Nirvana, Heavenly Lord Qing Hua Empress, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, and Fengdu the Great. Among them, Fengdu the Great was the strongest. Of course, there was also a saying that Tai Nirvana, Heavenly Lord, hid the deepest, and might be the strongest of the 3. But after all, there was no proof. After all, Qing Hua Empress's hypostasis was below Fengdu the Great. So on the surface, this great emperor was still the strongest. When King Yanluo was still around, he might have been one, but he was too biased towards Buddhism. So Fengdu the Great was pushed aside by Emperor Zhanqiu of the Heavenly Court and had no choice but to abdicate. After that, King Yanluo was forced into the 10 kings, so Yanjun only had the hypostasis of king, not King Yanluo's hypostasis, and his position in the Heavenly Court system was greatly reduced. At the same time, other than the few Yanjun who were biased towards Buddhism, there were also a few Yanjun who were biased towards Mystic Door. Whether they were biased towards Mystic Door or Buddhism, they all submitted to the Heavenly Court, with Emperor Zhanqiu as their leader. Speaking of which, why didn't Qinghua Empress do anything when the underworld was destroyed? Shui Tu King was puzzled. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva was invited away by the demon sect. The great emperor of Bane would never help Yanluo of the 10 palaces. So why didn't Qinghua Empress do anything? At this moment, Ajadi suddenly recalled that the Taoist master of Corpse Demon had vaguely mentioned the secret of the underworld's destruction in the downstream of time. He shuddered and hurriedly stopped Shui Tu King from thinking any further. He said in a low voice, "This is not something we should be concerned about. The more we know, the more tragic our deaths will be. Shui Tu, have you forgotten this principle?" Shui Tu King suddenly widened his eyes and said in a low voice, "You mean?" Qing Hua Empress smiled bitterly and obediently accompanied the dignified goddess sitting in front of him. The 9-headed lion he was sitting on was obediently bowing its head, not even daring to raise its head. Lady Huda smiled and stroked the tiger's head. The big cat carefully rubbed against the goddess's slender hand and made a purring sound, as if it was telling something. The goddess smiled and patted its head. "You said that the monkey bribed you and took the opportunity to slip into the underworld. Shintu and Yulei, those 2 useless things, they can't even guard a door. Years ago, the Emperor of Heaven and River Styx came and went, ignoring the underworld and causing me to lose my authority in the netherworld. I haven't even settled the score with them yet. 2 mischievous things." The Shinto tiger immediately growled in a low voice. The goddess pinched the skin on its head, scaring the Shinto tiger. Lady Huta smiled. "That's enough. There's no need to plead for them. I know they can't stop powerful beings like River Styx and Emperor Jiang." This time, they were alert and guarded the underworld's gate, preventing the Heavenly Court's army from taking a step into the netherworld. Their merits offset their demerits, so I'll let them go this time. At this moment, a powerful aura suddenly erupted from the wreckage of the underworld in Yuta City. Lady Hutu raised her head. Her pretty eyes filled with murderous intent as she stared in the direction of the wreckage of the underworld. She smiled coldly and said in a low voice, when he and Ksitigarbha entered the underworld, he was smart enough to change into a woman. I've been dragging this score with the Buddhists for so long just for this day. The goddess calculated with her fingers. There's no need for me to do anything. That monkey can take care of that guy. Qinghua, Ksitigarbha is gone. How much longer do you want to drag this on? Qinghua Empress smiled. My Qinghua world can be moved at any time. Since it's the goddess's request, how can I not obey? Wait a moment, I'll pack my luggage and move back to the heavenly realm immediately. Tai Nirvana Heavenly Lord is here to save people, not the netherworld hierarch. With the goddess here, who dares to be the netherworld hierarch? Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva is seeking his own death. I won't accept it. Lady Huta sneered, River Styx dares not. Imperial Emperor Qing Hua didn't dare to say anything else. With a wave of his sleeve, he ordered his divine generals to bring a group of citizens to the Green Flower World, severing the connection between the Green Flower World and the Seven Treasure Forest and the Dark World. He was preparing to raise it to the Heaven Realm. On the ruins of the ancient Bronze Hall, Shue Tu King seemed to sense something. He jumped up and pulled Ajadi up, saying, Let's go. Something is breaking through the void and coming here. Before his voice died away, in the void where the 18 levels of hell used to be, an indescribable golden staff tore through the void and hit the ruins of hell, shattering the 18 levels of hell. A voice resounded in Yuta City, Bodhisattva, eat this old sun's staff. That staff struck the void, and under the extreme power, everything was shattered. Even the void could not exist, but a golden figure was still there. When the power of the staff dispersed, Shue Tu King and Ajadi, who had far away and were still shaken by the aftershock, saw Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva sitting on the ruins of Wajiao Rock. His golden body was broken. The Bodhisattva put his palms together, lowered his eyes, and chanted, I vow not to become a Buddha until hell is empty. The netherworld is broken and hell is empty. The vow has been fulfilled, but it is not the right way. I will not become a Buddha. Nirvana, Nirvana. If Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva doesn't go through Nirvana, the victorious fighting Buddha won't be born. Great sage, lend me a bit of your divine light and protect us Buddhists. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva finished chanting, and with a smile on his face he disappeared. The bloody-soaked demon lord and the lifeless cult master had goosebumps all over their bodies. Both of them were trembling in fear as they watched the monkey stepping on a spiritual cloud and emerging from the void. Staring at the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva slough, the monkey frowned and said softly, You would rather take a fatal blow for me just to rip off a wisp of my spiritual light. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's golden body could no longer speak. Monkey King shook his head and said, Fine, fine. It's an ill-fated relationship, and I'll help my brother continue the karma. But I will not become a Buddha. The one who becomes a Buddha is not me. Monkey King turned and left. Before leaving, he recognized the two bald demons and said to Shue Tu and Wu Xing behind him, Demon Ancestor said he doesn't have disciples who betray their masters. I'll leave these two to you. You must make them realize their mistakes. The two demons, who still had green stubble on their heads, trembled. Shue Tu and Wu Xing looked at each other, and looked at the two with a trace of sympathy. Demon Ancestor had personally instructed them. If he didn't torture them 180 ways, they wouldn't be Demon Ancestor's dearest children. As direct descendants, if they weren't Demon Ancestor's dearest children, they were destined to die an incomparably ugly death. For the sake of their future, Shue Tu looked at the two, and an incomparably cruel smile already appeared on his face. In Edu City, the 5 ghost emperors had all been destroyed, and only a trace of divine light remained. The sky above Edu City was filled with incomparably deep darkness, and that boundless darkness was actually a person's true body. His divine body was the eternal night, as vast as the endless void. With a casual slap, he could use the boundless darkness divine art, and the 5 ghost emperors were actually no match for him. He only had one opponent, and that was the Lord of Edu City, the former Lord of Hell, Fengdu the Great. Fengdu the Great wore a crown on his head and faced the evil demon ancestor, Mok Jelua, and Keita demon ancestor. His aura was deep and vast, and he stood on top of Edu City. Edu's majesty was vast, and the vast emptiness of the northern sky set off his extreme vastness. It was as if he raised his head to look at the sun, moon, and stars, all moving at the same time. With a mere human body, he actually evolved into a vast sea of stars. In the face of Keita's endless darkness, they complemented each other. Between the two of them, one was like the incomparably deep and vast darkness, and the other was like the Milky Way and the sea of stars that dotted the darkness. Both of them displayed greatness that was difficult for a human body to display. Yongdu the Great raised his head and said to Keitu with interest, the evil demon ancestor of the path of diabolism, as expected of the innate demon god born in Yuta City. You are indeed extraordinary and should be the Lord of Hell. I, Fengdu the Great, am still one head lower than you in Yuta City. Unfortunately, if River Styx were here with his demon ancestor of all beings that contains all the thoughts of all living beings since the beginning of the primordial world, I would still have to lower my head to him. After all, River Styx is the great medium that I can't see through the most. But he only sent you, a mere yin-yang demon master, up and wants to dismiss me. Isn't he looking down on me, the Lord of Edu? Keita's face was expressionless, and his thoughts did not waver. He replied, all beings are me, and yin and yang are also a part of them. Why can't they be me? Why can't they carry me? Yongdu the Great laughed and said, River Styx, River Styx. You only have eyes for people like Emperor of Heaven and Hutu? It's hard to believe. I have ruled over countless levels of the underworld. And even after I was schemed against by Emperor Zhuanqiu and lost my authority as the Lord of Hell, I have never really met River Styx. The occasions we met were either in a hall like the Purple Cloud Palace, or when Queen Huta led us to discuss Tao with River Styx. Speaking of which, we have never conversed together. I thought that River Styx would have to deal with me personally if he wanted to destroy the underworld. At that time, I would be able to discuss Tao with you and witness the power of the number 1 person of the path of diabolism. But you actually came up with an evil demon ancestor to deal with me. Yongdu the Great placed his hands behind his back and said, make your move. Keitu, let me see what confidence River Styx has that he doesn't have to deal with me personally, but instead sends you to deal with me. Chapter 1336. Mount Li Goddess Palace. Little Qing was rescued by a mysterious person from Prince Bo Jun's temporary imperial residence and was lucky to escape. She already knew that Bai Sujin was being pursued by the heavenly courts and had caused a huge disaster. Thus, she traveled thousands of miles to Mount Li to seek help from the goddess. Little Qing's cultivation was weak. High in the clouds that she could not see, Demon King Jiao and Demon King stayed in the sky on clouds and watched her escape to Mount Li. Demon King Jiao stopped on the cloud and carefully maintained a distance of tens of thousands of miles from Mount Li. Old Mother of Mount Li was a famous female immortal in the primordial 3 realms. She was the famous number 1 hominoid of the primordial world and one of the ancestors of humanity. Demon King Jiao did not dare to underestimate her. He could only hang on the cloud from afar and monitor the green snake's movements. Demon King Jiao looked at the green snake's sorry state and asked with a smile, Big brother, why did you save this little demon? Demon King Niu stood on the clouds with his hands behind his back. He was extremely steady, completely different from the monkey's carefree behavior. Among the 7 great sages, he had the demeanor of a great general. Old Niu was able to become the leader of the 7 great sages not only because he had the highest cultivation level, but also because his temperament was the most extraordinary among the 6 other than the Monkey King. He said in a deep voice, Baisujin was saved by 7th brother and escaped to the netherworld. Demon King Jiao smiled and said, he's just a little demon, now that the situation has been set. So what if a little demon escaped? Can he change the situation of the great human-demon calamity? 7th brother. The protrusion on the back of his head must be 3 feet high. Did Big Brother only see his rebellious nature today? If not for the fact that his bloodline is the most precious among the apes and monkeys, he would have long been removed from the 7 great sages. Now that the demon court is about to return, 7th brother is still so ignorant. He can't blame us for disregarding our brotherhood. Demon King Neo frowned and said, when Baisujin escaped from our encirclement, he used Old Mother of Mount Li's talisman. Prince Mu was able to escape and ascend to heaven because of Old Mother of Mount Li. Also, don't forget, the relationship between 7th brother and Old Mother of Mount Li. He said it was the golden orchid. Demon King Jiao said disdainfully, that monkey still calls himself the Big Brother. Everyone knew that the goddess of Mount Li's background and cultivation far surpassed his. If it weren't for Empress Nvua's sudden impulse to transform into a human and integrate 100 races into a furnace, attempting in vain to cut off His Majesty's plan to extend the order of the divine court to the post-celestial beings. That's why I created a half-human, half-demon hominoid. It symbolized the evolution of apes and monkeys into humans, and the destiny of the demon race into the human race. That's how the Old Mother of Mount Lishan, a hominoid, when the human ancestor descended, that monkey shamelessly went up to claim kinship. In order to take advantage of the destiny of transforming into a human, Old Mother of Mount Lishan reluctantly acknowledged him as her big brother. Bull Demon King said solemnly, Saint Mother of Mount Lishan passed down the demon clan's art of transformation. She has a picture of a hominoid passed down by Emperor. It's also known as the picture of 10,000 demons and the picture of the ancient ape. It's where the destiny of the hominoids lies. That monkey is the head of the apes. If he wants to transform into a human, he definitely has to be a direct descendant of the chaos demon ape. Since the 2 of them have such a relationship, that Baisujin was ordered by the Old Mother of Mount Li to face the calamity, but she escaped with Prince Mu. Then she was rescued by Old 7th and went to the netherworld to rescue him. There must be a connection. There must be a tacit understanding between the Old Mother of Mount Li and Old 7th. It might even be a setup from the beginning to the end. The Bull Demon King was wise, his eyes gleaming with a scheming light. The little green snake demon has been captured by Prince Bo-jun, but it is useless in the grand scheme of things. Why don't I make use of this chess piece to test Old Mother of Mount Li? Although it is an idle move, it may have unexpected uses. And I've always had a doubt. Demon King Jiao was cold and shrewd. He bowed slightly and asked, Big Brother, what concerns do you have? The netherworld. Why does Old 7th want to rescue Prince Mu to the netherworld? Yanluo of the 10 Halls is not Emperor Zhuanqu's man. Ziyang is very powerful in the netherworld. Wouldn't it be walking right into a trap? Could it be that they want to find Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva? I feel a little uneasy. There seems to be a huge change in the netherworld. Old 7th, Old Mother of Mount Li, and the Tongtian sect leader who might be behind the 3 from the future. There's even the shadow of the Devil Path. We demons are here to welcome the arrival of the primordial divine court. Emperor Zhuanqiu of the Celestial Court is here to destroy the heavens and change the rule of the Celestial Court. The Emperor Heaven's unification seemed to be a foreshadowing to deal with the returning Celestial Court. Old 7th might be relying on the human race to become an ape and occupy a part of the destiny of the human race. Old Mother of Mount Li is here for her great Tao of transforming into a human. The Devil Path is here to stir up trouble. Wherever there is trouble, there will be people of the Devil Path. Why is the Tongtian sect leader making a move? Is it because of the celestial court of the mystic door? But the Jade Emperor is the head of the primordial 9 emperors, second only to the celestial emperor Donghua. Could it be that the Tongtian sect leader is unwilling to be left out and wants to establish the celestial court of the Jia sect? Why did old 7th Lure Crown Prince Bo Jun and the others to the Netherworld? The only ones who are qualified to play chess in the Netherworld are Qinghua Empress, Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, and Yongdu the Great. No, there's also Her Majesty Hood. The relationship between Old Mother of Mount Li and Old 7th started because Empress Hua created the human race, and the Netherworld was established by Holy Mother Hutu. Bai Sujin, a mere snake demon, actually has so many powerful figures behind her. Just thinking about it sends chills down my spine. Demon King Jiao shook his head and said, "Is a mere Bai Sujin worth the 2 Holy Mother's attention? Big brother, you're thinking too much." I'm thinking too much. I hope I'm thinking too much, Demon King Jiao said. But I don't know what Old Mother of Mount Li wants to do with this game. I just can't let my guard down. Little Qing landed on a cloud at the foot of Mount Li. Although she was anxious, she still respectfully and obediently climbed up to the mountainside from the foot of the mountain, revealing a temple. Under the cover of layers of clouds, it looked extraordinary. The red lacquered door of the temple was wide open, and some Taoist cultivators with extraordinary horns and strange appearances came and went. All of them were great demons who had cultivated the Tao, and there were also some human cultivators among them. The 2 sides got along harmoniously without any barriers. Shaoqing hurriedly stepped into the temple, and someone greeted her. "Sister Shaoqing?" "Where's Sister Bai? You've gotten into big trouble." Shaoqing didn't have time to explain and hurriedly said, "Someone please lead the way. I want to pay a visit to the Holy Mother. I have something very important to report." Under the guidance of a fellow Taoist, Shaoqing passed through the winding corridor and arrived at the entrance of the temple where the Holy Mother of Mount Li cultivated. Just as she stepped into the temple, she suddenly froze at the doorstep. This was because a young man was sitting cross-legged on a praying mat opposite the entrance of the temple. He wore a green robe and sat under the 3 Pure One's holy statues. This temple had a total of 3 halls. The first hall worshipped Old Mother of Mount Li herself. The main hall worshipped the 3 Pure One's holy statues, and the back hall worshipped Emperor Hua and Emperor Shi. The holy statues worshipped really didn't make sense, and it made people scratch their heads in confusion. This was because the front, middle, and back halls worshipped the 3 incarnations of the Holy Mother of Mount Li. The front hall seemed to be worshipping Old Mother of Mount Li, but it was actually worshipping an extremely ancient goddess, the Mother Goddess. She was an ancient goddess who had created the era of the Mother Goddess together with Nvaiwa and Hutu. She was an ancient goddess who had a close relationship with the 2, the Ajadi Mother. The main hall was supposed to worship the Ajadi Mother. After she was subdued by the leader of the ancient gods, the Heavenly King of Lingbao, the Heavenly King of Lingbao broke away from the ancient gods and founded the mystic door. When the Heavenly King of Lingbao broke away from the ancient gods and founded the Jia sect, she reincarnated and became a disciple of the Tongtian Order Master of the Jia sect in her second life. Because the Incongruent's mother had a master and was deeply indebted to her. She didn't worship the Incongruent's mother here, but her master instead. She was worshipped together with the 3 Pure One's holy statues. The last back hall was also the body of the Holy Mother of Mount Li in this life. Because of Nvaiwa's kindness, she became a hominoid. The goddess Niwa was the mother of the Holy Mother of Mount Li in this life. Therefore, she didn't dare to worship herself. Instead, she worshipped Nvaiwa and Emperor Shi like they were her parents. Therefore, in the Holy Mother's palace, the first hall was worshipping herself. The Ajadi Mother didn't need to worship anyone else. The second hall was worshipping her master, the great senior sister of the Jia sect, the Incongruent's mother, to thank her master. The third hall was worshipping her parents. Nvaiwa created humans and emperor she governed humans. Under the three pure ones, holy statues in the main hall, there was a young man kneeling in the Holy Mother's palace. There were demons and human cultivators who were indebted to the Holy Mother of Mountly. They could only worship the statue of the Holy Mother in the front hall. It was not their turn to worship the three pure ones, holy statues in the middle hall, because the Holy Mother's palace wasn't the inheritance of the mystic door. The Holy Mother of Mountly worshipped the three pure ones, but her disciples couldn't. Moreover, even if someone inherited the mystic door orthodoxy of the old Mother of Mountly, that person would be a member of the Jia sect. Under the Shangqing order, the Holy Mother of Mountly could sit on the meditation cushion under the three pure ones' holy statues, while her disciples could only take a step back and kneel on the meditation cushion below. There was no reason for them to sit on the same row as the Holy Mother of Mountly. In other words, if he sat on the same row as the Holy Mother of Mountly, wouldn't he be the same generation as her? Little Qing naturally knew the rules. When she saw the young man sitting in front of the three pure ones' holy statues and occupying the Holy Mother of Mountly's seat, she was shocked. Little Qing was so shocked that she couldn't speak, because she recognized this person. Wasn't this Fan Wujie, the young man who came from the future, met her and her sister by chance, got to know Prince Mu under her eyes, and even made a big fuss, causing Prince Bojun to lose face? Little Qing was stunned by this shocking scene. When she came back to her senses, she realized that the Holy Mother of Mountly was also in front of the three pure ones' holy statues, sitting beside Fan Wujie. The two of them sat side by side, and Little Qing was so shocked that she forgot why she came. When Little Qing came back to her senses, she saw that the Holy Mother of Mountly was looking at her with a smile that didn't seem like a smile, and she was still standing there in a daze. Her legs softened, and she suddenly knelt on the ground, kowtowing to the Holy Mother of Mountly, and said, "Holy Mother, Little Qing and my sister were ordered to go to the sky-bearing banquet to face the calamity, but we caused a great disaster. Little Qing was trapped by Prince Bojun, and my sister was framed for assassinating Prince Mu, and is now being hunted by the celestial heavens. Please guide me, Holy Mother. Please save my sister, Holy Mother." The Holy Mother of Mountly nodded and smiled. "Su Zhen is still safe, but you, child, were followed halfway, and you didn't even know." The Holy Mother of Mountly picked up a chess piece from the mixed heaven chessboard in front of the three pure ones' holy statues, and casually threw it. Thousands of miles away, the Bull Demon King's expression changed drastically. At this moment, a white chess piece fell from the sky, pressing down on the old bull's back. The Bull Demon King was forced to reveal his true form. Shaking his head, the big white bull spread his hooves and frantically galloped away from Mount Li in the opposite direction of the mountain. The white bull said to the shocked Demon King Jiao behind him, "Oh no, we've alarmed the Holy Mother of Mountly. She hasn't made a move for a long time, and her cultivation is even more powerful than I thought." The Holy Mother of Mountly suddenly made a move. She really had a plan for the demon race. Seventh brother must have submitted to this Dara and received her instructions to save by Sujin and Prince Mu. Second brother, go find third brother and fourth brother, and go to the netherworld together. I'll go ask the old officials of the celestial court, who His Majesty left in the primordial universe, to make a move. With Dara involved, the six of us can't handle it. The Holy Mother of Mountly made a move to scare away the two great sages. She had no intention of making another move. Fan Wujie was still in a daze. After he was defeated, he turned into a spiritual light and escaped in a daze. When he woke up, he saw this unfathomable female immortal. He finally understood the origins of this female immortal and knew that she was the Saint Mother of Mountly. Fan Wujie was so frightened that he was trembling with fear. In the future, this female immortal could fight for the title of the #1 female immortal in the celestial sect. He still didn't know the true background of this Holy Mother. She was the Ajadi Mother, who had once created the goddess era with Empress Hua and Mother Hutu, the eldest senior sister of the Jia school, or even the eldest senior sister of the three pure ones, the incongruence mother, and the first ancestor of human creation, who was half human and half ape, the ancient primitive person who bore the great fortune of becoming a demon into a human. She was the ancestor of humanity, the Holy Mother of Mountly. Any one of these three identities could shake the untainted land and be extremely respected. Not to mention that even the princes of the mystic door had to bow their heads to this eldest senior sister of the three pure ones. Even the most unoriginal identity of the Holy Mother of Mountly was the ancestor of humanity. However, Fan Wujia didn't know any of this. He only knew that this Holy Mother would be a prestigious and famous female immortal of the mystic door in the future. After Fan Wujia found out about the origin of this Saint Mother, his heart was extremely nervous. He was trembling with fear, as if he was walking on thin ice. Who would have thought that this female deity with such a shocking background would treat him with such kindness? It could even be said that she was extremely friendly, as if they were equals. Fan Wujia also didn't understand. How did he have the honor to be friends with this female immortal? However, Old Mother of Mountly would give him pointers from time to time. Fan Wujia was naturally overjoyed to be able to receive such a great divine power's guidance. Moreover, his position in the Holy Mother's palace was also extraordinary, so he might as well temporarily sacrifice himself in this palace. These few days, he was preparing to find out news about Yuanyu and Xue Tu when he saw little Qing coming to him. Fan Wujia continued to ask, "Senior sister, I wonder where the few people who came with me are. Are they with Bai Suzhen, Prince Mu, and the others?" Old Mother of Mountly smiled and said, "How would I not know about the big trouble they caused in the underworld? Your three companions are people of the Devil Dao. They are all extraordinary. One of them is the direct descendant of the Blood Sea, the Blood Devil lineage. The other is under Yuantu, the direct descendant of the Killer Demon. The last one is even more incredible. He is the Yin-Yang Demon Master of the Devil Dao. The three of them have done great things in the underworld. They are about to kill the Yenluo of the 10 Halls and wipe out the underworld. This is equivalent to raising the flag of rebellion. Junior brother, I advise you not to get involved in this mess. Otherwise, I won't be able to answer to teacher." Fan Wujia was shocked. He said, "Isn't Zhengyang Zi a spy of the righteous Dao? When did he become the Yin-Yang Demon Master? He has a strange background. He was a good friend of junior brother Zhao Gongming and a disciple of the Mystic Door. However, he was tricked by the demon ancestor of the Devil Dao, River Styx, and lost his footing. He had no choice but to join the Devil Dao. He became a vice cult master of the Devil Dao and is one of the 10 demon masters of the Devil Dao. He is called the Yin-Yang Demon Master. Amazing! This Yin-Yang Demon Master, Heavenly Lord Yuanyu, has already killed 3 Yenluo. I think this Yenluo of the 10 Halls is going to be in trouble." Fan Wujia asked, "I am a descendant of the later generation. I have no fate with Saint Mother. Why does Saint Mother recognize me as her junior brother?" Old Mother of Mountly smiled and said nothing. She only said that it was not time yet. Above the Blood Sea, River Styx laughed. "Wudong, you abducted my vice cult master. Duo Bao is really shameless when he pretends to be a newbie. I was going to send you to the netherworld to help me kill a few Yanjun and take the blame. I didn't expect your senior sister to dote on you and get you out of the situation. You ruined my plan. I won't argue with the two of you for now. If Duo Bao still wants to play tricks, you can join me and become the Sky Fiend Dao Master for the Monkey King." In Saint Mother's palace, when River Styx spoke, Saint Mother of Mountly suddenly closed her eyes and smiled. She nodded and said, "If you are not my junior brother, how can you use Yuantu's sword Qi and use the aura of the 4 immortal slaying swords? How can you trouble me to give junior brother Zhao Gongming's sea-calming divine pearl? I borrowed a connate numinous treasure from the Yin-Yang Demon Master to get you out. Otherwise, when I go to the netherworld, kill Yenluo, and destroy the netherworld, you will definitely be the one to blame. Fan Wu-jie was baffled. He had no foundation and no foundation. He had taken countless risks and gone through countless schemes to get to where he was today. Yet he had somehow managed to cling on to a powerful person. Most importantly, the Holy Mother of Mount Li had insisted that he was her junior brother. Since when did she have so many connections? Fan Wu-jie was proficient in the great mystical power of reincarnation. He could be considered to have realized his previous life and reached the origin. After calculating the karma of his previous 600 lives, he did not understand what kind of ill-fated relationship this was. The Bull Demon King was thinking about why the Grand Master of Heaven would stand up for him. He thought about it until his head swelled. However, he did not know that it was not the Grand Master of Heaven who had taken action. It was the eldest senior sister of Jieskul who had helped the eldest senior brother of Jieskul. He could not imagine that the country bumpkin from the future, a mere lord of Tao, would be related to the lord of Dara, one of the two great mediums of the Jieskul, the great Taoist Duobao. In the chaos, the river Styx had pulled down a trace of Duobao's spiritual light. This trace of spiritual light had been reincarnated for countless years. Only in the future era of the heavens, it was reincarnated as Fan Wu-jie. Without disasters or tribulations, it was Dara. Fan Wu-jie's name had already hinted at his background. It was just that Duo Bao was too adept at playing tricks, and he had even deceived himself. That was why Fan Wu-jie still did not know about his connection with this eldest senior brother of the Jie sect. In the Jie school, there were countless Dara who had lost their Tao. Therefore, the primordial spiritual treasures were the richest. The two senior brothers and sisters of Wudong and Duo Bao were highly respected in the Jie school. They were deeply admired by the disciples in the Jie school. Therefore, after turning into spiritual treasures, they chose to follow the two senior sisters. The eldest senior brother had the most Dara in the Jie school. No one knew how many treasures he had refined. If he used them, he would probably be able to smash countless powerful people in the primordial world. It made River Styx and Sakya, the sect masters and great mediums with shallow foundations and no family background, lose. Although Fan Wu-jie's cultivation was still shallow, with his identity, he could invite countless primordial spiritual treasures of the Jie school at any time. He was worthy of the name of Duo Bao. Such a chess piece was the best. If River Styx had sent Fan Wu-jie to the netherworld to face the tribulation, he would probably have to invite more than 10 primordial spiritual treasures to let the 10 halls, Yanluo, know what it meant to be rich. However, the goddess of Wudong had schemed and used a sea calming divine pearl to replace Fan Wu-jie. Of course, River Styx was not satisfied, but he still had a plan. He needed Wudong and Wu-jie. Therefore, he did not care too much. He only used his 12th grade Red Lotus of Fire and Yuan to Sword to replace the spiritual treasures that Fan Wu-jie had invited. Chapter 1337. In Idu Heaven, Kato held the Avicii sword, tilted his head slightly, and looked at Fengdu the Great, who had supreme confidence. He looked down on the countless ghosts and gods in Idu Heaven, the Lord of Dara, the 5 ghost emperors under the great Emperor of Bain, and the ghosts and gods that were not Dara. These powerful and arrogant ghosts and gods were like chickens and dogs in his eyes. Ketu smiled calmly and said, "The Idu, great Emperor of Bain, is from the dating clan of Emperor Yen. He is a direct descendant of Yen Huang, which is why he is valued by Emperor Heaven. Unfortunately, Emperor Heaven's Yellow Emperor's line is in the hands of Emperor Zhuanshu. Finally, he can't tolerate you, a remnant of Emperor Yen. Back then, Emperor Heaven inherited Emperor Yan's orthodoxy and became the orthodoxy of the human race. The only unconvinced Emperor Yan's Jili clan became Chiyu. He was defeated by Emperor Heaven and turned to Hoodoo. Because of this friendship, Xingtian and Chiyu are not willing to deal with you. That's why we, the Devil Dao, have to deal with you. Ancestor River Styx has prepared a suitable opponent for you. Unfortunately, someone has interfered and caused this prepared battle to be in vain. Perhaps someone wants to test the true ability of the third demon ancestor of the devil Tao. Ketu smiled regretfully. What a pity! Countless mighty figures and great mystical abilities of the primordial world wanted to figure out how deep the evil fiend ancestor, who was hidden in the fiend Tao, was. This opportunity was originally used to plot against someone. I didn't expect that the first time I, Ketu, make a move, I will only have you as my opponent. Ketu raised his head and stared at the void. There was a hint of loneliness and desolation in his eyes. Too weak, Ketu said coldly. As my opponent, Amir Idu, great emperor of Bain, is not worth it. What could he get out of this? Dating, you can be considered a figure in Dara, but among the great divines, you're too far away from me. The look in Ketu's eyes was not something that someone like the Yin Yang demon master could have. Even Bai Yin Yang did not have the confidence to look down on Yongdu the Great. However, he was not River Styx, because River Styx was not that serious. He was all living beings, or at least a part of all living beings. The demon ancestor of all living beings was the combination of the countless thoughts of all living beings in the primordial era. He was an unimaginably huge poltergeist. It could be said that all the ghosts in the primordial world were a part of him. It was the same for Black Yin Yang. That was why Jidu, or rather, Mok Jalua, was a consciousness formed from the countless evil beings in the darkness of Yudu. This consciousness was a part of the devil ancestor of all beings. Although it did not have the complete demon ancestor of all beings created by River Styx, who was omniscient and contained every thought of all living beings, but it was not purely Yuanyu, or the Yin Yang demon master's consciousness. The birth of the third demon ancestor of the devil cult, the evil demon ancestor, surprised many powerful beings in the primordial world. River Styx's plan was beyond their expectations. However, even the evil demon ancestor Ketu, who was expected to be born, was only an innate fiend god. At most, he was a great divines. The Blood Sea and Yuta City were the two places where the souls of all living beings returned to before reincarnation was created. However, the Blood Sea and Yuta City were not the most powerful ones in the primordial world. The Sea of Blood was a lump of Panga's blood essence, which was polluted by the impurities of the gods and devils he had killed when the world was created. Yudu, on the other hand, was the deepest and darkest place in the universe after the world was created. It was the darkest place that was naturally born in the primordial universe. They were all great divines, who had not seen the Pango era after countless reincarnations. Before River Styx came to this Pango era, the ancestor River Styx was just an identity of Ro's demon ancestor. The Blood Sea demon fetus was originally prepared for Ro. The evil and resentment of the chaos fiend gods gathered to give birth to Ro. Then the Pangu's blood essence, which was polluted by the impurities of the chaos fiend gods, became the only demon ancestor. In this Pango era, River Styx was invited by the great lord of Tao and Virtue and the Tai Ching immortal from another universe. No one knew his background, nor did he have any savings. He was not as famous as Ro. Although he had a bad reputation in the Tai era, he was inexperienced. Except for those who had fought with River Styx and knew how powerful he was, the other great divines, who had nothing to do with River Styx, were unfamiliar with this new leader of the diabolism, the ancestor River Styx. Only the three pure ones, the revered one, the Emperor Heaven, Hutu, Tai, Emperor Wa, Emperor Shi, and the Torch Dragon, who were the top existences in the primordial world, had some understanding of River Styx. The other heavenly Lord Dara and the great divines had a limited understanding of River Styx. In their impression, the most impressive thing that the ancestor River Styx had done was to plot against the destruction demon ancestor, Ro, and seal her in the ultimate. Also, during the meeting in the Purple Cloud Palace, the ancestor River Styx had proposed the primordial water cycle and the ultimate model. In this way, River Styx was actually not as powerful as Ro. He was not considered to be one of the top great divines in the primordial world. Therefore, Yenluo of the 10 palaces looked down on River Styx, not because they were blind, but because River Styx was a real newbie in this Pengu era. Who knew that a newbie could be a monster? In comparison, Fengdu the Great was also the master of the 9 mysteries, the commander of the 5 mountains, the commander of the North Sea, the commander of the 3 and 5 mountains, the commander of the 6 heavens, the high official, the emperor of the heavenly court, and the lord of the underworld. How could such an identity be any weaker than the lord of the diabolism? However, ever since the primordial world, River Styx had seized the water ancestor of Pengu's Dharma form, subdued Gonggong and Kuanping on Mount Buzhou, plotted against the ancestor of the dragon and Ro, discussed the Tao with Hutu and the Revered One, participated in the Battle of Pengu, and fought for the ownership of the creation myth. Other than suffering a loss in the hands of the Emperor of Heaven, he had always been unrestrained in the primordial world, which made Fengdu the Great think highly of him. However, Devil Ancestor Ji Du was merely relying on the master of Yuda's origin, the innate devil god that was born during the primordial times. Furthermore, he had been schemed against by the Netherworld River, causing him to die in his womb and be refined into a clone. What was there to be afraid of against such a third devil ancestor? Therefore, the great Emperor of Bane did not take Keita's arrogant words seriously. He just frowned slightly, and his opinion of Keita dropped by another 30%. He said calmly, "There's no need to say more. Mok Jalua, you defeated the 5 ghost emperors under my command. Was it also because of your words?" Keita shook his head and said, "Great Emperor, why did you address me with such vulgar Sanskrit? I am the 3rd ancestor of the diabolism, Ketu, not some black sky devil god." Ketu's right hand slowly pressed on Avicii's sword. Avicii's sword was hidden deep in its sheath. The sheath was deep and dark, as if it was a boundless hell that trapped countless evil spirits, and countless ghosts and gods were wailing in it. Avicii. The sword was unsheathed. In the Avicii, there was no time, no space, and no fun. Avicii. The endless torture and suffering in the hell sharpened an unparalleled, unstoppable blade. When Avicii struck with his sword, the netherworld was colorless. At this moment, the darkness of Yuda City poured down, drowning out all color and light in Yuda City. At this moment, the 5 ghost emperors were unable to see where Ketu and Yongdu the Great were clashing. In the darkness, Avicii pointed his sword forward. In the Avicii hell, the anger, madness, grief, hatred, unwillingness, despair, depression, regret, and guilt of countless souls for countless years were brewed in the horrifying torture of the Avicii hell. Millions of karma, love, hate, affection, and enmity brewed into the most intense emotions. The emotions of all living beings were integrated into the sword intent, and the consciousness that gathered the thoughts of all living beings and rode above the boundless sea of bitterness to form a Avicii sword. This sword intent contained a deep demonic nature. All living beings are devils. Forever fall into the Avicii hell. Keita's eyes were filled with the most indifferent, emotionless, and cold calmness. The sword in his hand gathered the most unforgettable pain of all living beings. Among all emotions, only bitterness was the most profound and moving. With the most emotionless consciousness, he drove the most emotional sword and stabbed at Yongdu the Great. As the sword stabbed out, above the untainted land of the Yang realm, the sun and stars suddenly dimmed, and a trace of darkness appeared at the edge of the sun. The light of the sun was swallowed by the nameless darkness, and a trace of darkness appeared on the surface of the golden sun. This darkness was strange and inexplicable. It gradually swallowed the other light of the sun, and soon a gap appeared in the sun in the sky. As the gap grew larger, the untainted land was gradually shrouded in darkness. At that time, the untainted land was shaken. Even the supreme heavenly court, which was above the 9 heavens and ruled the untainted land, was faintly affected. Emperor Donghua, who was in Lingshao Palace, watched as the heavenly realm slowly fell into darkness. He stepped out, stood up, and reported, "The demon star is eating the sun, and K2 is flying in the sky. The day is turning dark. This is an ominous sign. I fear that the underworld will be overturned and reincarnation will collapse. King Yenluo of the underworld is not virtuous. The demons are spying on him, and Hutu is disgusted. I hope your majesty will issue a decree to demote him." Emperor Zhuanxu said solemnly, "This is the omen of a great calamity. Ketu has appeared in the world. The demonic path has flourished, and the demons are ready to make trouble. The sun of the untainted land is at its peak. It is formed by the right eye of the great god Pengu. No stars in the 9 heavens can cover it. Only Ro-Ketu is the star of darkness. It can cover the sun and the moon of the untainted land. Ro is the demon that can destroy the world. Ketu is the demon of all living beings. These 2 demons are difficult to control. There will be a great calamity in the world." Emperor Zhuanxu ordered the sun rooster to crow. The divine beast Dingting in the earth, Bodhisattva Hall hid under the table and shivered. A god general came to the southern heavenly gate with a divine bow under Emperor Zhuanxu's decree. He knocked an arrow and scanned the untainted land. On the untainted land, the demons of the 100,000 mountains gathered. Rock Demon King looked up at the sky and was overjoyed when he saw the solar eclipse. He looked up and laughed. The heavenly heavens has lost its virtue. The heavenly Tao does not care about it. There will be a heavenly dog eating the sun. It is a sign that Zhuanxu will abdicate and the heavenly court will prosper. Among the demons, a battle demon dog howled. It wanted to devour the sun with the help of Ketu. The god under the southern heavenly gate knocked an arrow and aimed at the place where the demons of the 100,000 mountains gathered. He shot an arrow. The arrow pierced through the battle demon dog's head and killed it. Rock Demon King was shocked. He looked up at the southern heavenly gate in the 9 heavens and said, "Ho-E!" Ho-Ye's surname wasn't Ho, and his name was E. Ho-E was Ce, Hutu was Situ, and Ho-Ming was Siming. Ho originally meant ruler, just like emperor, and king. They were all the titles of rulers. Ho or Si meant ruler and successor. Si-Ming was the ruler of fate. Hutu was the ruler of the earth, and Ho-E was the ruler of archery. During the era of the ancient gods, the ruler of the human race was the emperor, so there were 3 emperors. During the era of the human race, the ruler of the human race was the emperor, so there were 5 emperors. During the era of the witch race, the ruler of the human race was the empress, so there were 12 ancestors of witches and 9 empresses. Chapter 1338. In the mortal realm, Wu Xian looked at the great sun above his head that was gradually being devoured by darkness. Wu Xian was the name passed down from generation to generation by the grand shaman of the kingdom of Wu Xian. Legend had it that the kingdom of Wu Xian was the head of the 10 shamans of Spirited Mountain, the guardian of the immortal Emperor Herb. As the grand shaman was the 5th generation of Wu Xian, he was also known as Xian Wu. Wu Xian Wu looked at the solar eclipse. His cultivation base had touched upon destiny, and he saw the turning of the heavens. But in the blink of an eye, he was scared out of his wits. His messy hair hung loosely on the back of his forehead, and his withered hands reached out weakly to the sun. "Oh, Emperor of Heaven, why is God so angry? The great calamity is coming. The great calamity is coming. I see blood rain falling from the sky, the heaven and earth shattering, the majestic mountains that house the ancestral spirits and the gods collapsing, the earth beneath my feet collapsing, from the easternmost East Sea to the westernmost desert. The great calamity, the boundless great calamity, the blood of all living beings in the sky pouring down like rain. It will not stop for 9 days, the corpses of the gods piled up like mountains. Everything is going to shatter. Everything is going to be destroyed." A huge comet appeared in the sky, tearing the heavens apart. Countless demons surged out from the crimson wound. The most ancient gods led countless warriors to the demon star. the devil mark, and I heard the bell ringing. As soon as she finished, the oldest shaman of the kingdom of Wu Xianwu, who had an astonishing cultivation base, spurted out dark red blood from her 7 apertures. The murky blood, mixed with tears, slid down from her eyes. The surrounding spiritual children screamed and fled in fear. The young man wailed with a sharp voice, "The shaman ancestor has collapsed. The shaman ancestor is bleeding from his 7 apertures. He is going to die." Wu Xianwu's 7 apertures were bleeding. He heard the bell ringing from the lower reaches of time and space. With each ring, his body trembled violently as if he was severely injured, and waves of dark red blood oozed out from his 7 apertures. When the murky blood dripped onto the ground, it immediately seeped into the rocks, bit by bit, engraved on the rocks beneath Wu Xianwu's feet. The primordial rocks that carried Wu Xian's blood turned into strange things with bloodstains on their surfaces that seeped into the rocks. If these blood-stained rocks hadn't been right in the center of the altar, and countless Magisprius had been suppressing this magnificent altar with their powers of will, it would have been a tens of thousands of meters tall divine mountain. It had been excavated and polished into a pyramid-shaped altar. Ghosts and gods guarded every direction of the altar. Every 10 steps, there would be a high-level magus guarding the altar. The overall sense of power released from the altar could connect with the heaven. If the rocks that were stained with Wu Xian's blood were not suppressed by the altar, the ominous aura on them would be enough to wipe out all living things within thousands of miles. When Wu Xian heard the bell ring 3 times, he struggled to his feet in a sorry state, trembling. His tyrannical cultivation base and the terrible sorcery power that could kill immortals with every move he made were all gone. He was so weak that he seemed like he would collapse with a push. He was almost dead. Wu Xian grabbed the hand of the magus next to him and cried out in a shrill voice, "The doomsday is here! Tell His Majesty that an unprecedented calamity is about to descend. The solar eclipse is just a precursor. The ghosts and gods underground have already been devoured by the boundless blood. The headless fiend gods have slaughtered the king of the ghosts and gods. Darkness, an indescribable darkness, stretches beneath the earth. An extremely powerful fiend celestial, comparable to a heavenly god, has been born from the darkness. He holds countless souls, ghosts, and demonic swords that twine around him, tearing apart the kingdom of the dead. Before these fiend celestials, the ancestral spirits are as weak as wandering ghosts." After listening to Wu Xian's prophecy, the magus knelt and bowed to him before hurriedly retreating to announce Wu Xian's prophecy. Wu Xian struggled for a long time before he finally caught his breath. He looked around and saw countless cultivators hiding in the surroundings, spying on this grand Magispriest. In the various heavens, these cultivators were the rulers of a region and the foundation of a powerful sect. But in the primitive era, these cultivators could only rely on a few third-rate sects and occupy barren mountains where there were no sacrifices of ghosts and gods. Although they were cultivators of sects, the people of the Mystic Door were in fact not much stronger than a small tribe of a few hundred people, and they were no different from itinerant cultivators. In the untainted land, even if it was a small human tribe with only a few hundred people, as long as they offered sacrifices to the gods and looked for the nearby blessed land where the gods were conferred by the heavenly court, they could basically raise wizards who were equivalent to the immortals of the later generations. Humans of the primitive era naturally had a lifespan of 3,000 years. This was the realm of the enlightened beings in the ancient heaven theory. They were born to follow the order of time and circulate their vital qi. Their physique was in line with the heavenly Tao. Some of them had inherited a special physique when they were mixed with the Wu tribe. Some of them could control fire and spit out water, control dragons and snakes, and even grow wings on their backs to attack from the air. These Wu tribe bloodlines would naturally become stronger with training. In addition to the Wu tribe who possessed legacies, could communicate with the gods, and were proficient in herbs, divination, goo insects, and poison to train their vital qi. some are born with the Wu tribe bloodline. They tempered their physiques, strengthened their bloodlines, and constantly cultivated their bloodlines to get closer to the great god Pangu or even the 12 ancestors of sorcery. They used their special organs, acupoints, and meridian system to control the vital qi of heaven and earth, and were good at fighting. Wu Xian was the martial artist of later generations. Therefore, the surrounding cultivators were considered powerful in the era of the various heavens. But in this era, everyone could breathe vital qi, break their physiques, and cultivate their bloodlines. In the era when a human reached adulthood, it was equivalent to the martial artist of later generations transforming into a fiend god's body. They were only 2 steps away from becoming a martial artist's human immortal. In Wu Xian's eyes, they were like ants. Wu Xian smiled cruelly as he let a group of ants watch the fun. He wiped the dirty blood from his 7 orifices with his hand and used his trembling index finger to draw a simple symbol on the ground. The cursed blood plotted the Wu character, and a strange aura instantly erupted. An evil spirit was summoned by the Wu character. It instantly absorbed all the auras of foreign creatures that were not in the kingdom of Wuxian and did not have the aura of the grass and trees here. Then the Wu character erupted and instantly harvested the souls of those sneaky cultivators. Countless black shadows flashed by, sucking tens of thousands of souls over and sending them into the river Styx. Wu Xian took the opportunity to pry into the aura of the netherworld. Then he shuddered and closed the passage to the Een Earth in fear. The few great cultivators beside the kingdom of Wuxian could be considered to have stepped onto the stage of the primordial world. Although their forces were not as powerful as the kingdom of Wuxian, which had been passed down for thousands of years, they were qualified to pass down their legacy steadily. They were not like those sects that were like child's play. The few heaven immortals discussed in low voices, "Something big has happened in the netherworld. Has Grand Magus Priest Xian Wu confirmed it?" A cultivator with withered yellow hair said in a low voice, "Yes." After the solar eclipse, he indeed went to make a divination. In the end, it led to a great disaster. It was said that Wu Xian was very afraid and claimed that there would be an unpredictable tribulation. He almost died after the divination. During this period of time, there were often lonely souls, wild ghosts, and even evil spirits breaking free from the Yellow Springs Road and escaping to the world of the living. They lurked in the mountains during the day and came out at night to eat people and enjoy blood. The heavenly court has ordered the mountain gods and earth gods to gather these lonely souls and wild ghosts. Many fellow Taoists have also gone to capture souls to refine treasures and cultivate. A female cultivator smiled coquettishly and said, "Does the heavenly court have any specific news about the changes in the netherworld?" A gloomy evil cultivator suddenly said, "It's said that it's a fiend tribulation." As soon as he spoke, the others were a little afraid and did not dare to speak. Clearly, they were a little afraid of this evil cultivator. After a long time, the cultivator with withered yellow hair said in a low voice, "Now that the solar eclipse has lasted for 3 days, it's obviously a sign that a great tribulation is coming." When a cultivator with a weaker cultivation base who had just stepped into the threshold of heaven immortal heard this, he used his bronze divine knife to carve a few ancient runes on the cracked bones of the spirit turtle beside him. The mysterious and unpredictable runes recorded, "In the Wu dynasty of Wuxian, there was a solar eclipse for 3 days and a great change in the netherworld. The Wu dynasty of Wuxian felt that the sky was raining blood, the mountains and rivers were overturned, and a great tribulation was coming. In the era of heavens, a group of old demons from Huangquan school and monks from Earth Bodhisattva temple gathered together. The leaders of both sides, Yama King and Xianryu of Gojoseon, sat facing each other, staring at 2 broken pieces of oracle bones. There were several extremely mysterious runes engraved on the oracle bones. When the oracle bones of both sides were put together, more than half of the runes were gathered. Although the runes were incomplete, it did not affect the overall structure. Yama King coughed and said, Our two sects have been fighting for this treasure for thousands of years. Since the appearance of the oracle bones, several skyscrapers and arhats have died because of it. Today, I've invited Fuang here to explore the mystery of this treasure together. Xianryu of Gojoseon put his palms together and chanted the name of Buddha. King Yama's words are very kind. The reason why my Earth Bodhisattva Temple and your Huangquan School have been fighting for this treasure for thousands of years is because there are flaws in our sect's inheritance. Your Huangquan School's supreme technique, King Yenlua's achievement, and my Earth Bodhisattva Temple scripture, Karma Ten King Scripture of Hell, are both ancient secret techniques. Legend has it that there was a King Yenluo in the ancient Netherworld. Yenluo ruled the Netherworld, operated the cycle of reincarnation, and suppressed hell. Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva transformed into 10 kings, suppressed hell, and achieved the Buddha's fruit. And your underworld demon sect also cultivated the body of King Yenluo, turned heaven into hell, and achieved the art of Dara. Both of our sects achieved Tao through hell, which is related to the cycle of reincarnation. However, at the end of the ancient times, hell disappeared and the netherworld was mysteriously destroyed. As a result, both of our sects' path to Tao was cut off, and we have no way forward. Therefore, finding the secret of the destruction of the netherworld at the end of the ancient times and finding the lost hell is our only hope to achieve Tao. Xianryu of Gojoseon nodded and said, now only when both of our sects work together can we have the possibility to uncover this ancient secret. Yama King picked up the 2 oracle bones in front of him, put them together and said in a low voice, although the Iron Sword sect is not an ancient sect, it is an ancient sect that has been passed down for thousands of years. I didn't expect that there would be unfilial descendants who dug up the tomb of the founder. In the end, several oracle bones were unearthed, and many of them were extremely ancient and powerful cultivation methods and divine powers, which brought about the destruction of our sect. According to research, this oracle bone was the oracle of the founder of the Iron Sword sect when the netherworld changed, so it was not valued by the other sects and fell into the hands of our sections. With the help of the aura of the ancient hell on this oracle bone, we completed part of the inheritance, and each of us cultivated a Tao Lord to inherit our responsibilities, so that we could explore the secret of the destruction of the netherworld at the end of the ancient times. Xianryu of Gojoseon also said, this oracle bone is the bone of a 10,000-year-old spirit turtle, and it has the bloodline of the black turtle. It is extremely extraordinary. In today's era, where the bloodline of the primitive world has been lost, it is already a supreme treasure for cultivation of divination. If the old monsters of the Ziwei sect and my E sect knew about it, they would definitely not hesitate to use 5,000 kilograms of divine gold and devil iron. It is written in the primordial shaman script. It is also an extremely ancient inheritance. It is said that the old monsters of the devil Tao and shaman cult had intended to seize this batch of oracle bones. But because of the appearance of the key of Dara in the Brahma Heaven realm, they ran to the ultimate. What kind of place is the ultimate? I think those old monsters, whether they are good or evil, Buddhist or devil, will not be able to come out. King Yama sneered. Xianryu of Gojoseon laughed and said, is Yenjun not on good terms with some old devils? The Shui Tu King always taunted us, the Huangquan school, for cultivating the body of King Yenluo, a heretical devil, and looked down on us Yama just because he is the direct descendant of the blood devil. He even said that we want to prove the body of King Yenluo, that we are courting death, that we are tired of living. I want to see who is the one who is tired of living. Will the Shui Tu King be able to walk out of the ultimate? Are the demon ancestor of destruction sealed in the ultimate and the devil Tao of destruction hidden in the ultimate, giving face to the direct descendant of the river Styx? The King Yenluo is a great devil and one of the devil Tao's monarchs. He is not inferior to the blood devil tribe. What heavenly demon blood devil? The direct descendant of the river Styx. I think they are just putting gold on their faces. There is also the grim demon and the 2 paths of hell. especially the devil Tao of hell. It is a branch of the Yama devil tribe, but they say that they have inherited the teachings of the demon ancestor of the river Styx, the Avicii sword. The grim demon thinks that they have inherited the devil Tao of slaughter from the demon ancestor of the river Styx, and that they are the direct descendant of the Yuan-Tu sword. For the sake of connections, they really don't care about any face. Our Yama devil tribe is the direct descendant of the ancient devil Tao emperor, King Yanluo. We are the orthodox lineage of the devil Tao and have a great reputation. Compared to these lowly people who cling to the demon ancestor, we are much more orthodox. However, the blood devil heavenly demon is powerful, so the death devil, earth devil, yang devil, yin devil, and heart devil, these fence-sitters turn to cling to us and ostracize us. The Xianryu of Gojoseon pointed at the oracle bone and asked, "Can the demon monarch decipher this primordial shaman script?" King Yama smiled and said, "What's so difficult about that? The shaman devil tribe also has the shaman script. It is rare for the Buddhists to have such a legacy, but the Yama devils and the shaman devils are both of the devil Tao. It is naturally not difficult for us to learn a thing or two. It is written on the oracle bone. In the kingdom of Shaman, there was a solar eclipse for 3 days, and there was a great change in the netherworld. The kingdom of Shaman was psychic and sensed that the Emperor of Heaven was infuriated. Blood rain fell from the sky, mountains and rivers were overturned, and a great calamity was coming. 3 months. Attack the builder tree of the eastern heavens. Destroy the heavens. There will be a great calamity, and the underworld will collapse. Demon. The next few shaman scripts became blurry. No matter what kind of divine power they used, it was difficult to restore them. King Yama caressed the shaman scripts that were almost smoothed out and said in a low voice, "The shaman script on the oracle bone carries the spirituality of divination, so it has a spiritual response. That is why we can use the contents of these shaman scripts to divine and figure out the aura of the primordial hell." The last few words once carried extremely terrifying information, so it was erased by the information it carried, because even the 10,000-year-old spirit turtle could only record it for an instant, and then it erased it on its own. Just like the shaman script on the oracle bone that was unearthed, it never had the name of the Emperor of Heaven, nor the names of the great divine power of the primordial era. It is said that the Flame God sect used all the power of the sect, and even 2 Tao lords almost died, to unearth the shaman script of the great god Zhurong in an ancient heaven. They used this opportunity to add a legacy to their sect, the Zhurong Fire God Dragon Driving Secret Incantation. Its supreme secret incantation, the Zhurong incantation, is the only incantation that can cultivate the Zhurong divine fire in the heavens, and it has unfathomable power. King Yama said, "Let's join forces and use the sect's most precious treasures, the broken bronze hall of my Huangquan school and the earth Bodhisattva temples, Sanskrit board of the earth, Bodhisattva temple. With the help of this oracle bone, we will return to the untainted underworld with the characteristics of Dara." After saying that, King Yama summoned the most precious treasure of the Huangquan school, an ancient bronze hall with only a part of the gate archway remaining. The Xianryu of Gojoseon also took out a wooden board with the Sanskrit words Earth, Bodhisattva Temple written on it. This was also the origin of the name of the Earth, Bodhisattva Temple. The founder of the Earth, Bodhisattva Temple, had obtained this mysterious board, from which he comprehended the supreme Dharma and established the Earth, Bodhisattva Temple's orthodoxy. The 2 sects really brought out their most precious treasures. With a trace of the characteristics of Dara in the 2 precious treasures, the mysterious oracle bone was activated, and the 2 patriarchs and the old monsters behind them were instantly pulled into the void darkness. This was the boundless sea of blood in the endless darkness. The Xianryu of Gojoseon opened his eyes and saw that he was sitting in front of an incomparably sacred hall. He looked behind him and saw the most precious treasure of his sect, the horizontal board of the earth, Bodhisattva Temple, hanging on the hall behind him. This hall was already in ruins. Nearly 4/5 of it had collapsed into the ruins of the black scorched rocks, falling into the lava. The hall was placed in an unimaginably huge, pure black boulder that was entangled with extremely hot scorching flames. Half of the huge boulder that was as huge as the heavens had collapsed. At the top of the boulder, half of the boulder had been smashed into pieces, and the side of the collapsed cliff had become a broken, golden body. The Buddha's aura had already dimmed. There were cracks all over the golden body, and in some places the glaze-like Buddha's bones were already exposed. It put its palms together and closed its eyes slightly facing the front. Over there was an unimaginable mark of a staff that had collapsed the boulder. The Seonryu of Gojoseon was so scared that his limbs went soft. He prostrated himself and cried out in surprise, "Bodhisattva!" As he cried out, the horizontal board of the earth Bodhisattva temple above his head fell down with a loud bang and fell into the arms of the Seonryu of Gojoseon. A strange beast that looked like a dog or a lion ran out of the earth Bodhisattva temple. When it saw the Seonryu of Gojoseon, it revealed a look of disdain. When the Seonryu of Gojoseon saw the strange beast, he was so scared that he prostrated himself again. Dingting's sacred beast. Dingting glanced at the collapsed scorched rock. The huge black boulder, surrounded by the sea of blood, was like a drop of water in the ocean. When Dingting saw the staff mark, his body trembled slightly. When he saw that the Seonryu of Gojoseon still wanted to climb to the top of the scorched rock to invite the golden body of Bodhisattva down, he quickly bit on the Seonryu of Gojoseon's sleeve and threw him further away from the golden body. Just a little bit of Dingting's aura had triggered the staff mark on the golden body. At this moment, an angry roar echoed in the void. "Eat my staff!" "One staff!" "Staff!" The echoes echoed in all directions, and the Seonryu of Gojoseon's avatar was almost shattered. He spat out a mouthful of light, golden blood. Would he be able to return to the ancient era with the help of the Grand Luo realm? Grand Patriarch Yama Demon landed in front of an ancient bronze palace that was shrouded in darkness. By the time Grand Patriarch Yama Demon awoke, the darkness was only a meter away from him, and he could vaguely hear a voice calling out to him. King Yama listened and heard countless strange voices calling out one after another, "King Qingguang! King Qingguang! King Qingguang!" There were also other voices calling out, "King Song! King Chujiang!" King Yama was horrified when he heard this. His soul almost left his body and fell into the darkness. If not for the protection of the ancient bronze temple behind him, he would have fallen into the darkness involuntarily. What's in the darkness? Why is the name of the 10 temples of Yenluo being called out? The 10 temples of Yenluo are the 10 incarnations of King Yenluo. Could there be a great secret related to King Yenluo hidden in the darkness? I was received by the ancient bronze temple and came here as soon as I left the sea of heaven's realm. Could this be the underworld at the end of the ancient times? The countless calls in the darkness, could it be the countless ghosts in the underworld calling for the 10 temples of Yenluo to return? Could this ancient bronze temple be the 10 temples of Yenluo? The 10 temples of Yenluo have already become ruins. There are countless calls for the 10 temples of Yenluo in the darkness. What happened in the underworld? Where did the 10 temples of Yenluo go? Chapter 1339. King Yama sat in front of the dilapidated ancient bronze hall. He was initially shocked by the vast and ancient aura of the ancient bronze hall behind him. When he came to his senses and guarded his mind, he realized that there were 9 other ancient halls like the one behind him. 10 dilapidated ancient bronze halls. King Yama's heart almost trembled. Could it be the 10 temples of Yenluo? The 10 temples of Yenluo have been destroyed. King Yama's mind was a little blank. He almost suffocated as he thought, who did this? Although Huangquan's school had long guessed that the treasure of their sect might be the legendary 10 temples of Yenluo, the impact of guessing based on the remnants of Yenluo Hall and seeing the destroyed 10 temples of Yenluo in front of them were 2 completely different concepts. At this moment, King Yama was restless. He had to calm the shock in his heart and guard his mind. He said to himself, "Didn't we borrow the remnants of Dara's characteristics from Yanluo Hall and Earth Bodhisattva Hall to explore the secret of the destruction of the underworld? Is that the treasure on my back the treasure of my sect? It's not too dilapidated now. What happened that left only a gate and a part of the memorial archway, and was picked up by the patriarch? The 10 temples of Yanluo were severely damaged, and the Earth Bodhisattva Hall only has the horizontal board of Earth Bodhisattva Hall, who destroyed the underworld and destroyed the 10 temples under King Yanluo and Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's dojo in hell. The Earth Bodhisattva Hall into ruins. The Sion-ryu of Gojoseon had the same doubts in his heart, who destroyed the golden body of Bodhisattva, shattered the scorching rock, and made the Earth Bodhisattva Hall collapse. The Sion-ryu of Gojoseon had already realized that he was currently at the bottom of the ocean, the fertile scorching cliff, which was the location of hell. From here, one could enter hell and enter the great scorching hell. However, at this time, the great scorching hell at the bottom of the fertile scorching cliff had already been extinguished. The Sion-ryu of Gojoseon sat cross-legged in front of the Ksitigarbha temple. He could no longer feel the heat of hell. Dingting was crouching at the entrance of the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, staring in awe at the golden body of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva that was standing on top of the scorched rock. The voice coming out of its mouth sounded like a human voice. The Sion-ryu of Gojoseon could vaguely make out the words, "The victorious fighting Buddha!" Victorious fighting Buddha? The Sion-ryu of Gojoseon shuddered. The one who destroyed the Earth Bodhisattva temple and killed the Bodhisattva was actually the victorious fighting Buddha? But why would the victorious fighting Buddha kill Bodhisattva? The Sion-ryu of Gojoseon heard the roar of the golden body of Bodhisattva. "Eat my staff!" There was also the remnant of the supreme, divine power. Faced with this violent rage, the extremely tyrannical and incomparably violent staff, the Bodhisattva could still smile and disappear. The smile on the face of the golden body was a mixture of bitterness and joy. It contained the supreme essence of Buddhism. If not for the fact that the Sion-ryu of Gojoseon was having a hard time comprehending it, he would have been able to comprehend a supreme Dharma from it. Faced with this staff, the golden body of Bodhisattva was not destroyed. It was only trapped within the tyrannical fighting will of the victorious fighting Buddha. On the other hand, Dharma King Shanlong was only faced with an echo left behind in the past, but he was shaken to the point that his Zen heart was almost shattered. He was intimidated by that tyrannical fighting spirit, and his mind was shaken by it, leaving behind an indescribable shadow. Dingting looked at the Sion-ryu of Gojoseon, who had yet to walk out from the shadow of the roar. A look of disdain and impatience appeared on its lion-like face. However, it shook its big head and pondered for a moment. Then it simply lay in front of the Ksitigarbha temple, put its 2 big paws under its head, and pretended to take a nap. The Bodhisattva had set up 2 schemes at the cost of his life. The first was to ask the Sky Fiend Tao Master, who had a great affinity with Buddhism, to give the Buddhism a Nirmanakya to achieve the great affinity of the victorious fighting Buddha. It would be best if they could earn this Sky Fiend Tao Master. In this way, not only would the Buddhism not suffer any losses in the netherworld, but they would also gain a lot. It would be worthwhile for Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva to enter the netherworld 8 or 10 times. The second was to leave a foreshadowing for Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's Taoist site of the netherworld hierarch. In the future, if the netherworld was fated to prosper, the inheritance of the Ksitigarbha temple would be an opportunity. Dingting was the Bodhisattva's last and most reliable support in the netherworld. He guarded the Ksitigarbha temple obediently so that he would not be entangled by the detestable divine tiger and be chased out of the netherworld. That would ruin the Bodhisattva's plan. Thinking of the divine tiger raised by the 2 idiots guarding the gates of hell, Dingting gritted his teeth in anger. King Yama began to comprehend the supreme Tao of King Yenluo's demonic body from the 10 broken ancient bronze halls. King Yenluo sat in the imperial court. The body of the Son of Heaven needed the protection and support of the supreme imperial court. Therefore, the 10 halls of Yenluo also contained some supreme Tao. King Yama supplemented the divine powers and great Taos that the Taoists of the Huangquan school had comprehended from the treasures of the sect from the broken ancient bronze halls. He first started with the ancient bronze hall behind him. Gradually, he built a similar ancient bronze hall in his own fruit of Tao. The moment the ancient bronze hall was formed, King Yama suddenly comprehended the great Taos contained in the ancient bronze halls. To become King Yenluo, one must first establish the imperial court of the netherworld. The 10 ancient bronze halls contain the supreme Tao of establishing the netherworld divine court. After building the 10 ancient bronze halls in the fruit of Tao, one's primordial spirit would walk into the hall and sit on the throne in the hall. Then, one would be able to cultivate a Yenluo primordial spirit and cultivate one's own primordial spirit into the avatar of the Yenluo King. If one cultivates the 10 halls of Yenluo, he can cultivate his primordial spirit into the incarnation of the 10 halls of Yenluo King. Then, by relying on the 10 ancient bronze halls, one can open up hell and suppress countless vengeful souls and ferocious ghosts. One can use one's own primordial spirit as the incarnation of the 10 halls of Yenluo King to suppress countless ferocious ghosts. With countless souls as resources, one can probably gradually open up the netherworld in the world of heavens and gradually pull back the fragments of the netherworld. Finally, the 10 halls of Yenluo in the fruit of Tao will be built. When the interior of the fruit of Tao and the exterior of the world of heavens converge, there will be an opportunity to unite the 10 halls of Yenluo King and transform the primordial spirit into the supreme king, Yenluo. King Yama comprehended the principle of breaking through Dara. His eyes were fanatical, and he thought to himself, "My Yama Tao is indeed the dignified and righteous path of the devil path. Master Yama, demon ancestor, was originally an ancient corpse of the devil god. After being resurrected in the netherworld, he accidentally obtained the remains of the ancient bronze hall. Now, it seems to be the remains of the broken 10 halls of Yenluo King. From it, the patriarch comprehended the great way of Yenluo King. Using this great way of the netherworld and the most taboo of the devil path, the 9 questions of the netherworld, he created the King Yenluo achievement method, and half of it, the somewhat incomplete 18 mud plows of Ichidao. Now I finally have the opportunity to return to the end of the ancient times. When the netherworld was destroyed, I saw the remains of the 10 halls of Yenluo King. I completed the inheritance left behind by the patriarch and combined the King Yenluo achievement method with the 18 mud plows of Ichidao. I finally understood why the patriarch created the incomplete 18 mud plows of Ichi achievement method. So these 2 mental cultivation methods complement each other. Only when the primordial spirit cultivates the King Yenluo achievement method can one have the chance to transform into the Yenluo King. And the reason why the Yenluo primordial spirit that I cultivated in Huangquan school has a blurry appearance and the emperor's robe and crown are unstable is because it lacks the other half, which is the inheritance of the 18 mud plows of Ichi achievement method. It should be because the 18 mud plows of Ichi achievement method is incomplete. In our sect, there is no one who cultivates the 18 mud plows of Ichi achievement method and becomes a Taoist lord. I don't know that only when the 18 levels of hell are cultivated and the Yenluo primordial spirit is in charge of hell can it be accomplished. The emperor's robe and crown are clear, and the primordial spirit's appearance is the same as the physical body, showing its own face. Now, I not only completed the 18 mud plows of Ichi achievement method, but also used the remains of the 10 temples of Yenluo to cultivate Yenluo Hall in the Tao Fruit interior realm. Yenluo Hall suppresses hell and is the main hall of the netherworld, which is the imperial court of the netherworld. Yenluo primordial spirit enters the imperial court of the netherworld and sits on the throne. Naturally, it will transform into the Yenluo king, and Yenluo primordial spirit will transform into Yenjun primordial spirit. Finally, 10 primordial spirits of Yenjun will be cultivated, and they will combine into King Yenluo. At this point, the Yenluo method and the 10 temples method are complementary, and there is no longer any obstacle to the great way to Dara. King Yama's heart was at ease, and he smiled in relief. Great lucky chance. This is the opportunity that the founding masters of my Huangquan school have been searching for. The 10 temples of Yenluo are not the diabolism method, but the divine right of the netherworld, the great way of heaven and earth, and the great way of reincarnation. Unfortunately, the 10 temples of Yenluo were broken by an unknown mighty person, and the Tao of Blade was no longer complete, so the founding master used the diabolism method to complete it. Our diabolism has a deep accumulation in the great way of the netherworld and the great way of reincarnation, so we can easily complete the great way of Yenluo and turn King Yenluo into the son of diabolism and establish the lineage of Yama. The founding master used the forbidden method of the 9 questions of the netherworld to complete the great way of reincarnation of the 10 temples of Yenluo. With the essence of Avicii's Hell Tao, he completed King Yenluo's method of ruling hell. King Yenluo operated the great way of reincarnation, and our diabolism also has the principle of controlling the great way of reincarnation and the netherworld. Combining the two, we created the diabolism of Yenluo. How is it impossible? My Yama Tao, in a nutshell, is to establish the netherworld. With the principles of the diabolism, we re-established the 10 temples of Yenluo. Unfortunately, the founding master of Yamaluo was an ancient corpse, and his lifespan was originally Yin. After the destruction of the netherworld, he founded the Huangquan school in the myriad heavens. 1 day in the Yang world is 1 year in the Yin world, so his lifespan was depleted very quickly. He had no choice but to enter the ultimate in his old age to search for the remaining fragments of the netherworld and change his Yin life. But so many years have passed. His Yin life should have dried up by now. The founding master was a celestial, but his path was cut off because of the lack of lucky chance. What a pity! King Yama sighed. The true meaning of reincarnation, the will of the heavens and the human heart? A faint sigh reverberated in the depths of Yudu's darkness. Under the sea of blood, Tao Master Corpse Devil suppressed the judge's brush. He raised his head and sighed. At that moment, his face was astonishingly the founding master of the Huangquan school, the Corpse Demon King. Outside Idu sky, the ghost city of Idu, which Fengdu the Great was suppressing, was torn apart by Avicii's sword. The ghost emperors fled in all directions to avoid the sword light. Countless ghosts and deities fell into the netherworld, into the cracks in the void created by Avicii's sword, and into the netherworld of Avicii. K2 demon ancestor flew to the outside of Idu sky. Idu sky had already been torn apart, and it was sinking into the great netherworld. Fengdu the Great met K2's sword. When Avicii's sword stabbed out, it turned into the supreme darkness and split the Rahu 6 heavens created by Yongdu the Great in the blink of an eye, tearing Fengdu the Great into 2 beams of spiritual light. One ascended to become a god, and the other fell into the Demon King. On the surface, this sword was the supreme darkness of K2 demon ancestor, but inside it was the supreme power of the evil demon ancestor. It was the torture of the demonic nature of all living beings. At that moment, the remnant thoughts of the souls that had sunk into the netherworld for countless years turned into the torture of demon ancestor. Demon ancestor was the thought of all living beings. At this moment, the dark, demonic, negative, and evil thoughts in the hearts of all living beings turned into a torrent, forcibly splitting Fengdu, the Great's spiritual light, into 2. It represented the evil side of the great Tao, turning into the Demon King of the North. It represented the good side of the great Tao, the positive side, turning into the Yongdu the Great. It could be said that this was the most terrifying thing about the demon ancestor of all living beings, the evil demon ancestor Ketu. The evil demon ancestor was all living beings, everyone, and Yongdu the Great was only a part of all living beings. He was also the demon ancestor of all living beings and also Ketu. It was just that in front of the demon ancestor of all living beings, the ordinary Dara was manifested into an evil version of himself at a glance. The evil thoughts were triggered, and the demon body was created. As for Yongdu the Great, after being slashed by Avicii's sword and the supreme darkness of Yuta City, his spiritual light was forced into two, following the principle of yin and yang. Only then did he split into a demon body. In front of the demon ancestor of all living beings, he saw himself. Ketu sighed and said, "The demon ancestor of all living beings has no heart. It uses the heart of all living beings as its heart. I'm the demon ancestor of all living beings, but aren't you also the demon ancestor of all living beings? You think that the demon ancestor of all living beings isn't in front of you because it hasn't used its full strength, but you don't know that you're a part of the demon ancestor of all living beings. I'm just a mirror that allows you to see the demon ancestor of all living beings in your heart, to see the evil of all living beings." Yongdu the Great laughed. He said in a low voice, "I've lost, but in the end, I still managed to test it out. You demonic cultivators are really ambitious to actually want to divide yin and yang into two. The mystic door and Buddhism are the righteous path, while you demonic cultivators are the negative path. Where there is righteousness, there must be demons. The forces of righteousness and demons mutually transform and balance each other, which is in line with the principle of yin and yang. But with the demonic cultivators alone, you want to balance with the mystic, door, Buddhism, and even the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors of the human race. The plan of the demonic cultivators to balance yin and yang is a little too ridiculous. Today, you can divide me into good and evil, turning me into the demon king of the north and Yongdu the Great. In the future, will you be able to divide the primordial Lord of Heaven into the primordial Lord of Heaven of the mystic door and the primordial demon king of your demonic cultivators? How do you know it's impossible if you don't try?" Ketu demon ancestor said emotionally, "All living beings are like demons, and the demon ancestor of all living beings, Ketu, is indeed the ancestor of the demonic cultivators corresponding to the primordial Lord of Heaven of the mystic door. He's still young now, but in the future he might be able to compete with the primordial Lord of Heaven of the mystic door." Dara had no trials, so he didn't have life and death, nor did he enter the cycle of reincarnation. If the innate aura wasn't suppressed, the fall of the true body was just a change of body. However, the new body was often not as skillful as the old body, so the power that could be exerted would drop. If the old body fell in the hands of the enemy, the new body would not be able to withstand it, so it usually wouldn't turn back to fight again, lest it hurt its skin again. Now that Yongdu the Great was divided into 2 by Ketu, Dara's true body was divided into 2, just like how Wuji was divided into Tai Chi, the original realm of mixed yuan was divided, and there were life and death, yin and yang, Tao and demon, north yin and Idu. When Dara's realm was broken, Yongdu the Great's innate aura couldn't be fully borne by these 2 bodies. It was equivalent to dividing a large body into 2 small bodies. Although it was still Dara in essence, it was a 2-body unity of opposites. Only when the 2 bodies merged into one could it be considered a complete Dara. However, the body of the demon king of the north was also a part of the demon ancestor of all beings. Under Ketu's interference, it was difficult to return to Wuji and Tao and demon as one. It could be said that Yongdu the Great had been divided into 2 parts and sealed. His innate aura existed in the demon king of the north and Yongdu the Great at the same time. The demon king of the north had fallen into the path of diabolism and became the demon ancestor of all beings. The evil demon ancestor, the root of the path of diabolism, was created by the demon ancestor. In the sense of Dara, it was equivalent to falling. Yongdu the Great could only seek for an opportunity in the future to harmonize the two consciousnesses, eliminate the interference of the demon ancestor of all beings, and reunite the demon king of the north and Idu into one again. Only then could he restore his old appearance, eliminate the interference, and return to the body of Dara. Chapter 1340. On fertile Scorch Cliff, the Seonryu of Gojoseon sat in front of the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva temple. His hands formed the same sweet dew seal as the broken golden body. He borrowed the remnant of the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva temple to establish a connection with the golden body of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva on fertile Scorch Cliff. The golden body sat down and formed the sweet dew seal with its hands, revealing a mysterious truth, calm and unmoving like the earth, silent and deep like a secret. The Seonryu of Gojoseon chanted the Sumeru Bodhisattva Sutra to comprehend the supreme Zen of the golden body of Bodhisattva. To him, being able to see the golden body of Bodhisattva was equivalent to Bodhisattva personally imparting his teachings. Over the past few days, the Seonryu of Gojoseon had been carefully visualizing the golden body, afraid that his will would alarm the shocking battle intent near the golden body of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Because of this, there were only traces of mysterious concepts, as if he had been enlightened. It made Dharma King Shanlong feel that there was no part of his body that was not radiating light. Golden lotuses appeared on his body and circled around him, transforming into endless Buddhist light. He borrowed a strand of the endless Buddhist power from the golden body to strengthen himself. In a few days, his mana increased rapidly. The golden lotuses bloomed on the body of the Seonryu of Gojoseon and fell to the ground. When a golden lotus fell, it opened up a foot of pure land. Not long after, the land around the Ksitigarbha temple was turned into pure land. The Ksitigarbha temple sat in the center of the pure land. The Seonryu of Gojoseon only needed to connect his mind slightly, and he could feel endless power. The golden lotuses spun in the Ksitigarbha temple. The shadows of countless sons of Buddha, Arhats, and Bodhisattvas appeared on the two sides of the main hall of the Ksitigarbha temple. They stood on the golden lotuses and chanted the Sumeru Bodhisattva Sutra. The chanting of countless sutras strengthened the Seonryu of Gojoseon, helping him to improve his Buddhist power. It was like the evening drum and morning bell, and the Zen of Devanaga chants. The Seonryu of Gojoseon's mind was filled with the chanting of sutras. He immediately felt a sense of enlightenment. He collected the countless golden lotuses and turned them into a lotus platform to protect his body. He had cultivated the lotus body protection great divine art. Facing the golden body of Bodhisattva, Dharma King Shanlong sat on the lotus platform and was illuminated by the Buddha's light from the lotus platform. Suddenly he was moved. The golden body of Bodhisattva suddenly turned into a boundless land, and every inch of the land was covered with Buddha's light. Enduring and motionless, deep in thought, there were countless ghosts that lived under the earth. Illuminated by the Buddha's light, they were suddenly freed and transformed into celestial beings and celestial maidens. They danced joyfully on the earth, and all of them chanted the Sumer scripture. This scripture slowly flowed out from Dharmaraja Shanlong's sea of consciousness. Every word and sentence emitted an immeasurable amount of light. It combined with the Buddha's light outside of his body and transformed into a rui golden banner that stood beside him. Just as the Seonryu of Gojoseon was about to add another stream of energy condensed the 9-ringed monk staff. An extremely powerful army came from afar. The billowing blood chi shot up into the sky. Ordinary ghosts and gods would have their souls shattered when they were hit by the blood chi from tens of thousands of miles away. Even their een spirits would be in trouble. Even immortals riding on clouds would not be able to pass through the blood chi. They could only avoid the clouds. The Seonryu of Gojoseon exclaimed in his heart, "What a powerful soldier!" Even the few most famous Tao soldiers of the heavenly era are far inferior to this. Which demon god's personal soldier is this? He could only retract the Buddhist light and obediently wait in front of the Ksitigarbha hall. Although he had the protection of the Ksitigarbha hall and the Bodhisattva's golden body not far away, there were many tyrannical and mighty people in the ancient times. The Dara was not as extinct as it was in the future. Now that the underworld had gone through a great change, the Seonryu of Gojoseon came from the future, and the situation was unclear. It was better for him to know his place. Fuang was not greedy. He only needed to erase the fighting spirit that was suppressing the Bodhisattva's golden body and invite the golden body back into the Ksitigarbha hall. Then he could return to the future. When the time comes with the Bodhisattva's golden body suppressing the Bodhisattva's golden body, his Ksitigarbha hall would definitely prosper. There would be a path to the Western Paradise. The Seonryu of Gojoseon raised his head and looked in the direction of the blood chi. He saw an iron-blooded chi meandering upwards. In the dark sky of the underworld's Yuta city, it bared its fangs and brandished its claws. It was like a long iron-blooded dragon that spanned tens of thousands of miles. Against the extremely dark background, the iron-blooded dragon breathed in and out. A tragic, vast, mighty, and majestic aura suppressed all four directions. It caused the pure land of the Ksitigarbha hall to shrink by a third, turning into a white lotus that took root on the Wajiao rock. Under the blood chi, a vast, majestic, and tyrannical army surged forward. They rode on thousands of bronze warships, on which were countless heavenly soldiers in full armor. Every single one of them was no weaker than a true immortal. With millions of human immortals gathered together, their blood chi soared to the heavens, and even ghosts and deities avoided them. There were dozens of divine thunders and divine cannons on each of the warships. The remnants of thunder and fire on the cannons were comparable to the heavenly tribulations of a future life. This fleet of heavenly soldiers came very quickly. The speed of the bronze warships surpassed that of Tao Lords, and they arrived on the Wajiao rock in an instant. A divine general standing at the bow of the main ship looked down at the broken Wajiao rock and said in shock, "Why is the Wajiao rock mostly destroyed? In the past, this stone would be burnt red and charred black by the scorching heat below. Why is it so cold now? Where is the scorching hell below?" Another divine general scratched his head and said, "The Wajiao rock is anchored to hell, and it is one of the great gates of hell, not far from the 10 halls of Yenluo. A few days ago, I heard from the emperor that something had changed in the netherworld, and he ordered us to come help, but we were blocked by the gates of hell for 3 days. If it wasn't for the fact that we are in the same class in the heavenly court, we wouldn't have bothered. Now we've missed the opportunity. I wonder what kind of battle happened here at the Wajiao rock. Wait, this is..." Divine General of Warkong Ing looked at the golden body of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva on the Wajiao rock and said in shock, "This is the golden body of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva?" The golden body of Bodhisattva smiled peacefully, but anyone could tell that Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva had passed away. Another divine general, Mukue, led the army to the sky above the Wajiao rock, and when he saw the golden body and the half-destroyed Ksitigarbha hall, he said in shock, "Who dares to flatten Bodhisattva's Bodhimanda? We have come to help. Where is the Yenluo hall of the 10 halls? Why didn't you open the door to the 10 halls of Yenluo? It must be those 2 traitors doing." Kong Ing said angrily, "Shintu Lei, you're the Eastern Ghost Emperors in vain. You've missed the opportunity and caused us to arrive 3 days late. They must know the inside story. I'll go capture them and interrogate them." Divine General Mukue was about to turn around and settle the score with Shintu Lei, but he was stopped by Divine General Fangjiao, who said, "Wait, we don't know the situation yet. Shintu Lei is one of the 5 Ghost Emperors personally conferred by Yongdu the Great. If there is internal strife in the underworld and Yongdu the Great intervenes, won't we be in an awkward position? There seems to be someone alive in the Ksitigarbha hall down there. I'll go capture him and interrogate him." The other divine generals all felt that this was reasonable. Shintayule was deliberately stalling for time, which was very suspicious. This huge change must have been caused by some powerful figure who had come to deal with Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. Didn't they see that Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva had been killed? If they didn't know what to do, they might offend some powerful figure of the heavenly court, and in the future they would be in trouble. This matter was related to the power struggle of the heavenly court, and it was related to which side they chose, so they had to be cautious. They would rather make a futile trip than be careless and stand on the wrong side. Divine General Feng Jiao landed in front of the Ksitigarbha Hall with a group of soldiers and asked the Seonryu of Gojoseon, "You are Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's Arhat. Let me ask you, what happened to this Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva, and who killed Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva?" The Seonryu of Gojoseon hurriedly got up. He didn't dare to say that he was a monk from the future, so he could only put his palms together and say, reporting to Divine General, "This humble monk is Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's Arhat, but when I returned from a business trip, I only saw the ruins of the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's Arhat. I also found Bodhisattva's golden body on the fertile scorched rock, but I don't know who did it. I only heard from Bodhisattva's holy beast, Dingting, that it might be related to the victorious fighting Buddha. Victorious fighting Buddha." Divine General Feng Jiao frowned and said, "There isn't such a name in the West. Could it be an internal strife in your sand gate?" The Seonryu of Gojoseon obediently lowered his head, not daring to say a word. Divine General Feng Jiao climbed up the fertile scorched rock and came in front of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's golden body. He was about to approach when the Seonryu of Gojoseon hurriedly stopped him. "Divine General, you mustn't!" Feng Jiao acted as if he didn't hear it, and walked to within 10 feet of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's golden body. Feng Jiao's chi activity suddenly triggered the remaining power of the divine power left behind by Monkey King and Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's golden body. The sweet dew seal in the golden body's hand was activated, and the golden body struck out with a backhand. The echoing roar sounded again, "Eat my staff!" Then a staff shadow, layers of bloodlight, and an extremely violent force came crashing down. Feng Jiao was attacked from both front and back, and it was equivalent to taking the combined attack of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva and the Monkey King head-on. He was heavily injured in an instant, and golden blood spurted out of his mouth like it was free of charge. Half of his spine was shattered, and he only had an unstable aura left to escape back into the formation. Divine General Mu Kuei said in shock, "Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva died in battle, and the golden body still has the chi activity of her battle with that great enemy. If we recklessly touch the golden body, we will definitely attract the combined attack of the remaining chi activity from both of them. It has the power of a great divine power. We can't act recklessly." "Who killed Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva?" Divine General Konging paled and said, "Could it really be Yongdu the Great?" "No." Feng Jiao vomited blood and said, "That voice isn't Yongdu the Great. This person has the name Sun, and his words are very vulgar. I'm afraid he's not a righteous god of the celestial court. And this person uses a rod." At this moment, a long rumble came from the darkness of Hell's Yuta City. 10 dilapidated ancient bronze palaces suddenly appeared from the darkness, and a beam of light flew out from the ancient bronze palaces towards fertile scorched rock with all its might. The Seonryu of Gojoseon recognized this person. Wasn't this the King Yama who came to the end of the ancient times with him? King Yama was in a sorry state, and he came towards the Seonryu of Gojoseon with a terrified expression. The few divine generals originally wanted to stop this person, but when they saw the ancient bronze palaces behind him, their attention was attracted. The ancient bronze palaces were full of scars and battle scars, and the door was almost completely broken. There were also many horrifying scars on it. Most of them were from the axe, followed by the sword. Whether it was the axe or the sword, they had both entered the palaces through the door and destroyed more than half of the ancient bronze palaces. Other than that, There were spots of blood rust from the corrosion of the blood sea, and creepy claw marks and teeth marks, axe marks? Could it be Shintu and Yulei? Divine General Kong Ing said in a doubtful tone when he saw that a path had been slashed open on the doors of the ancient bronze palaces. It was a path that had been forcefully broken. How could these two be so capable? Divine General Feng Jiao spat out blood and shook his head. The waters of the hell run too deep. Even the 10 halls Yanluo suffered a calamity. We should go back and report to God, gather the soldiers and bring the army down. Now that we have a detachment, it's entirely possible that we disappear from the hell without a trace. Even if we die, no one will avenge us. Blood, rust, and the blood sea near this fertile scorched rock. Kong Ing guessed some of the truth. Could it be that the demonic path broke into the hell and killed Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva and the 10 halls Yanluo? How could the demonic path slaughter the hell without alerting the heavenly court? Divine General Mu Kuei shook his head. I don't believe it. It's more like it was Yongdu the Great who did it. 10 ancient bronze palaces appeared from the darkness and landed on the fertile scorched rock. The Xianryu of Gojoseon floated up and fled in a sorry state. He landed in front of the Xianryu of Gojoseon with 1 foot. King Yama's face was drained of all color. He said absent-mindedly, Great calamity, terror of the demonic path, darkness, great horror. Avicii's hell. The Xianryu of Gojoseon hurriedly used his protective Buddhist light to calm King Yama down. But it also removed the terrifying shadow that enveloped King Yama. After King Yama came to his senses, he immediately ran without another word. He spat out a bloodlight and used a secret technique similar to heavenly demon disintegration to escape. At this moment, a glint flashed through Divine General Kong Ing's eyes as he intercepted King Yama's bloodlight. At this moment, King Yama cried out in terror. Behind him, a thick shadow appeared where the 10 ancient bronze palaces were. As the darkness faded away, a terrifying, ferocious, and sinister aura of death, slaughter, and blood passed through the suppression of the 10 palaces of Yanluo and pressed down on all the cultivators, divine generals, and even the heavenly soldiers. It intimidated everyone, and even the bloody smoke that stretched for thousands of miles was suppressed and somewhat stagnated. The divine generals stared blankly at the shadow like wooden statues. He emerged from the darkness, wearing a crown and an emperor's robe that was worshipped by tens of thousands of ghosts. He had an indescribable majesty, a square face, big ears, and a solemn expression on his face. Every time he lifted a hand or a foot, he was surrounded by countless divine auras. Most importantly, all the divine generals knew him. Ghost Emperor Zhou Qi, why have you come after this man? Divine General Kong Ing couldn't help but ask. This man was none other than Dara's lord, the central Ghost Emperor Zhou Qi. The ruler of Mount Paodu, the central Ghost Emperor, was the leader of the 5 Ghost Emperors, a ghost god second only to Yongdu the Great. He was also the lord of Dara, even more respected and powerful than the heavenly generals at the bottom. Among the 36 heavenly generals, although there was a powerful Dara like Zhao Gongming, most of them were only the weakest divine generals in Dara. After all, if they were powerful, they wouldn't be under the command of the great Emperor Jinwu. Ghost Emperor Zhou Qi, where is the 10 palaces of Yanluo? Divine General Mu Kuei braced himself and asked, Celestial Emperor Xiang heard that something has happened in hell and ordered us to come and investigate. If the Ghost Emperor has any instructions, we will be able to answer to the Celestial Emperor. Ghost Emperor Zhou Qi said nothing, but his face was livid and he emitted an awe-inspiring aura. Divine General Kong Ing gave in and said, Since the Ghost Emperor doesn't allow it, we won't disturb you. We will return and report the truth to the Celestial Emperor and hope that the Ghost Emperor will give us an explanation. Divine General Feng Jiao smiled bitterly and said, Why doesn't the Ghost Emperor say anything? Aren't you looking down on us too much? Ghost Emperor Zhou Qi's body collapsed into the sea of blood like a collapsing mountain. Only then did the divine generals realize that Ghost Emperor Zhou Qi was dead, leaving behind only a ghost god's body. There was an obvious sword wound on his back, emanating a deep, demonic aura. From the darkness behind him, a sword-wielding silhouette slowly approached. Divine General Kong Ying's mind went blank for a moment, and King Yama, who was in his hand, screamed as if he was crying. Demon Ancestor! Demon Ancestor! Xian Ryu of Gojoseon was so shocked that he didn't even know when he had unfolded his palms. His face trembled as he pointed at the Heaven's army. The army of heaven was silent like a dead man as they watched with suffocation as Ghost Emperor Zhou Qi's body collapsed. Ghost Emperor Zhou Qi was already dead, but his divine body had forced him to take a few steps and bring the 10 temples of Yanluo here. The Ghost Emperor is dead! A heavenly soldier said in a daze, still recovering from the unknown shock. Dara is dead. Xian Ryu of Gojoseon's mind was also blank as he said in a trembling voice. Didn't they say that Dara is free from calamities and tribulations, and is equivalent to the fruit of Buddha? Even Buddha can die. That's right. Even Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva can die, let alone a Buddha. The divine generals focused their attention on the sword-wielding silhouette in the darkness behind them, and they trembled uncontrollably. Just by sensing slightly, they could sense the great terror, destruction, and slaughter that the silhouette carried with it, a shocking sharpness and an aura that made even the innate, inextinguishable aura tremble. It was an eternal darkness and a terrible evil aura. It was an astonishing evil that seemed to have poured out all the malice and evil of hell, bringing with it the distortion and madness of countless souls. Run! Awed by the aura, the elite heavenly soldiers drove their bronze warships and sped toward the gates of hell. The heavenly gods who raised their war banners were so terrified that they even toppled the banners in their hands. Countless heavenly soldiers threw away their helmets and armors, turned their ships around, and even a few divine generals drove their bronze warships and fled in panic. They saw the corpses of Zhao Wenhe, the Ghost Emperor of the West, Reverend Wang, Duziren, the Ghost Emperor of the South, Zhang Heng, Yang Yin, and another Ghost Emperor of the Central, Jikong. All these corpses of Dara were lying in Idu Heaven. Idu Heaven was already broken and torn apart, with countless corpses of deities and devils lying in the city, while the silhouette stood in the middle of the city, bringing the entire broken Idu Heaven with him as he descended from the darkness. At this time, no one doubted Yongdu the Great anymore, because Yongdu the Great had been pierced by a sword and died in front of the gates of Idu Heaven. Facing the direction of the crowd, the darkness was behind Yongdu the Great, and countless demon kings and evil beings gathered to form an army and followed behind him. Among them was a powerful demon king named Bain. The 2 words Idu were removed from the broken Idu Heaven and were changed to Bain City. The sword-wielding silhouette sword was a Vici hell. His body was boundless darkness, and Idu Heaven sank into the darkness of his body. Countless demon kings and evil beings danced wildly in the city, and the demon king of the north led the demons and was the leader of the demonic Tao. And these boundless darkness, countless demon kings, and innumerable evil beings were all part of that silhouette. He was darkness, he was evil, he was the ultimate terror. He was Ketu. Chapter 1341. Just as Ketu demon ancestor descended from the darkness, the heavenly soldiers scattered. Dingting rushed out from Ksitigarbha Temple, grabbed the Xian Ryu of Gojoseon with his mouth, and ran. Dingting traveled tens of thousands of miles with each step, catching up to the 3 heavenly generals who were fleeing in panic. They crossed the bridge of helplessness and returned to Yudu City. Only then did they realize that Ketu demon ancestor had arrived with the 10 temples of Yanluo and stopped on Wajiao Cliff. They faced Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva's golden body and did not chase after them. The corpses of the ghost emperors hung on Bain City, their demonic nature gradually degenerating. The bodies of the ghost emperors of Dara were nurturing demonic nature, and there seemed to be something wriggling under their skin. Countless ghost gods' corpses piled up into mountains, their flesh, blood, and souls turned into burial ground, nurturing the demonic nature in the ghost emperors' bodies. Ketu, demon ancestor, stood in Bane City, waiting for the demonic nature in the ghost emperors' bodies to be nurtured. Tao Lord Corpse Demon appeared from the darkness, and Ketu, demon ancestor, said calmly, "Elder ancestor already knows what you're thinking. He finds it interesting, so he's willing to give you a chance. These corpses of Dara are for you to use. Replacing souls with corpses to establish reincarnation in hell, it's indeed an interesting idea." Tao Lord Corpse Demon said in a low voice, "When living beings die, their souls become ghosts and their bodies become corpses. Souls and corpses are the two great imprints left behind by living beings, the continuation of their lives. Why can souls reincarnate, but corpses decay into ashes? Zombies sink beyond the 3 realms and 6 paths, and are not part of the 5 elements. They are despised by living beings, and are not seen as the continuation of their lives. I have painstakingly studied the Netherworld 9 questions and understood the principle of true self, creating the great Tao of Corpse Demon. After a person's soul is destroyed, the body will nurture demonic nature, and the corpse will gradually gain sentience, living a second life as a corpse demon. After the soul reincarnates, it is me, and when the corpse gains sentience and becomes a demon, it is also me. The great Tao of Corpse Demon is not inferior to the great Tao of reincarnation. It's also a kind of reincarnation." Ketu, demon ancestor, casually replied, "That's why you want to devour the Wraith Realm, using the Corpse Demon Tao to seize the Wraith Realm, causing the corpses of the dead to enter the Nether Realm and fall into the Wraith Realm, gaining sentience within the Wraith Realm to live a second life and create the world of the dead. Dead spirits have a lifespan, and when their lifespan is over, they will be reincarnated from death. Their bodies are filled with endless death energy, and they will give birth to divinity, transforming and reincarnating. Thus, a cycle of life and death is formed. After all life's eggs become wet, a 5th path of reproduction will be opened, molting. Old man Corpse God used the 9-death reincarnation heaven, deceiving grand art, to achieve Tao in order to walk the path of metamorphosis. He researched the process of living beings transforming into another form, all to ensure your corpse demon Tao. Humans become corpses after death. Corpses become zombies, and zombies transform into humans. These 3 stages are crucial to the success of the transformation. Humans become corpses after death, which is the great Tao of reincarnation, and naturally corpses become zombies. Even though there is some fortune involved, it isn't a taboo. However, to reincarnate from a zombie to a zombie, it truly goes against the great Tao of reincarnation and violates the taboo of the netherworld. You want to create a second reincarnation for all living beings, and Hotu will not tolerate it. Tao, Lord, Corpse Demon, you were originally a corpse that Ancestor River Styx and the Emperor of Heaven conspired to research. When they were creating the constitution of the human race, you accidentally gained intelligence. In front of the Emperor of Heaven, he believed that the human race isn't as rich and diverse as the demon race, and that the demon race can take countless paths of evolution. Although the human race has created a glorious civilization, they have the same constitution, and the civilization they created is also similar. They aren't as rich and diverse as the demon race after they gained intelligence. Therefore, River Styx suggested that the Emperor of Heaven should absorb the essence of the demon race's civilization to create different constitutions of the human race. Thus, the demon race has countless races, and the human race has countless constitutions, including countless divine bodies and saint bodies. For the sake of the purity of the human race's heritage, this plan was first implemented in the sorcerer tribe. The Emperor of Heaven ordered the human race's powerful figures to create their own innate divine bodies and pass down their bloodlines. Therefore, the 12 ancestors of Sorcerer established the 12 tribes of the Sorcerer tribe and passed down their own bloodlines. The 12 ancestors of Sorcerer fought for Pango and inherited Pango's orthodox lineage. After the Sorcerer tribe integrated into the human race, they naturally passed down Pango's bloodline and the bloodline of the 12 ancestors of Sorcerer Dara to the human race. The Tao Lord Corpse Demon shook his head and smiled. He put his hands behind his back and said, "The Emperor of Heaven and Ancestor River Styx studied the demon races, different racial talents, and different paths of evolution. They turned the essence of the various races into the foundation of the human race and created countless powerful potential constitutions in the Sorcerer tribe. Compared to the demon race's different racial talents, these constitutions were born with great success when they were first created. However, after a few generations, they gradually became ordinary and turned into potential, which was passed down in the human race's bloodline. There's the primordial sacred body, which imitates the Chaos Emperor and is the constitution closest to the Chaos God-Fiend. There's the black tortoise sacred body, which imitates the black tortoise sacred beast. It innately controls yin and yang, and is the constitution closest to the innate gods of the Tai Chi era. Among the 3,000 Chaos God-Fiends, countless innate gods were born. The orthodox descendants of these innate gods were included in the bloodline law order established by the Tai. Therefore, the demon race had the Azure Dragon Sage, the Black Tortoise Sage, the North Star Sage, the White Tiger Sage, the Vermilion Bird Sage, the Phoenix Sage, the Vermilion Red Pill Sage, the Cheongchi Sage, the Celestial Fox Sage. The Emperor of Heaven imitated the nature of these innate gods and modified them into various human constitutions. Therefore, the demon race had various great sages and innate gods, and the human race also had various imitations of the sacred bodies. When the Emperor of Heaven established the Sorcerer tribe, he created the various tribes of the Sorcerer tribe with these imitations of the gods. Each tribe had its own constitution, and even the various small tribes had different talents. Therefore, during the war of Sorcerer and Demon, the Sorcerer tribe was not inferior to the original races of the sacred bodies. With the power of one race, they dominated the other races, and it was the supreme era of the Sorcerer and Demon race. After the Archean Divine Court was destroyed, the Sorcerer tribe returned to the human race. These imitations of the innate gods were known as the sacred bodies. When Nuwa created the human race, she also considered the Emperor of Heaven's method. However, the goddess Nuwa was even more arrogant and disdained the Emperor of Heaven's imitations. Then, she went one step further and surpassed the original practical method. With her supreme wisdom and profound attainments in the Tao of creation, Nuwa created the unique body constitutions of the human race. Among them, there were 9 that were the most mysterious. They were known as the 9 great god constitutions. Nuwa treated everyone equally. She hid the various god constitutions in the bloodline of the original human race. Therefore, everyone had the chance to open the divine treasures. For example, the body constitutions created by the goddess Nuwa were known as the god constitutions, and Patriarch River Styx was also interested in joining in. After the Sorcerer tribe merged with the human race, the god constitutions and saint constitutions merged. Patriarch River Styx took in some humans from the Blood Sea and conducted human experiments. He explored how to create all kinds of body constitutions that challenged the limits of the human race's definition of life under the framework of the human race's life form. These crazy body constitutions were made up of countless little worms. Each worm had a consciousness and could evolve into a unique life form. When all of them were gathered into one, they defined the human race as the myriad transformations demon body. The first transformation was the myriad transformations demon body. There were several ultimate forms of the myriad transformations demon body. One of them was all life, and the other was the complete ecosystem. All life transformations. There was also no core consciousness. Each of the most basic body units had individual consciousness. Their own consciousness was collective consciousness and could fuse with any individual consciousness. All life transformations. There was also the blood demon myriad transformations, which evolved the little worms into parasites that parasitized all life and contained all life. The first transformation was the universe demon body. It was a body that was created by imitating the structure of the universe. Whether it was the saint constitutions, god constitutions, or devil constitutions, they weren't dominant in the human race's bloodline inheritance at the beginning. The possessors of these body constitutions were no different from ordinary humans at the beginning. In other words, any human race could have these body constitutions. At the very least, every human race had the potential of the 9 great god constitutions. As for the saint constitutions and devil constitutions, they had already spread to more than half of the human race during the human race's reproduction process. However, to have these body constitutions, one still needed to be born in the sorcerer tribe, a mixed blood of humans and sorcerers, or an ancestor who had been experimented on by river Styx. At the beginning, the myriad transformations demon body could only control the body's cells. One would be more talented in the art of transformation, and the body's healing ability would be stronger. The body could easily change and imitate. As for the embryonic form of the universe demon body, one only needed to open a small inner world in the acupoints, dantian organs, or any other part of the body. Whether it was the dantian purple mansion of the mystic door, the blood sea of diabolism, the pure land heart light of Buddhism, the inner world of martial arts, the interior scenery, the fruit of Tao, the heavenly court, the heavenly palace, the divine world, the formation world. As long as one opened an inner world and kept walking down this path, one could eventually evolve into a multiverse that was composed of countless space structures. The human body was layered with countless space bubbles and inner worlds. After the initial success of the universe demon body, one would be a small universe with unimaginable power. It was one of the body constitutions closest to Pengu. The Emperor Heaven's divine body, the Nuwa Emperor's divine body, the river Styx demon body, the Hutu's true spirit, the mystic door's Taoist fetus, the Buddhist Brahma bone, the mixed blood of humans and demons, and the different foundations of reincarnation formed the countless body constitutions of the human race, different talents, and different paths of evolution. I was a test subject created by the Nether River Patriarch when he began his demonic body experiments by the shore of the Blood Sea. The Patriarch usually starts his research with the basics, which is why he would create various demonic bodies. Once his research is complete, he would modify the human embryos according to the demonic bodies. The demonic bodies created by the Patriarch are ignorant and have no consciousness. They were like living corpses. This was also because Lady Hutu purposely didn't allow the demon bodies created by the Patriarch River Styx to give birth to a soul. Because these demon bodies desecrate creation and go against reincarnation, I was born without a soul. There are some successful demon bodies that have reached the grand completion of good fortune, which is equivalent to becoming a completely new kind of demon body. They will naturally give birth to a soul. As for a failed product like me, I can only be stored in a water essence vessel and left to rot by the blood sea. But I don't know if it was because of the Patriarch's negligence or because my demon body is special. It's probably the latter. Because of my body constitution, the demon ancestor later developed a few zombie demon bodies. This kind of body constitution doesn't show anything when I'm alive. Only after I die will I turn into a zombie. The most powerful one is the drought demon body. Although it isn't among the 19 strongest demon bodies, it's still powerful for a while. If it wasn't for the fact that I have to turn into a zombie before I can manifest, it could compete with the battle demon body to see who's number one in killing. In short, this most basic zombie demon body of mine only gave birth to consciousness after the demon ancestor completed his research. In my first life, I was ignorant. At the beginning, I was a lowly zombie wandering in the netherworld. Come to think of it, I'm probably the first zombie in the world. The corpse demon Tao Master smiled. The basic body constitution is the most widespread and representative. Therefore, the body constitutions created from this foundation can be used by all humans. Therefore, although my zombie demon body was at the beginning, it was only the simplest and most basic demon body. Just like now, 20% of the human race have inherited my body constitution. Therefore, after some people are buried, they can be nourished by the earth chi and turn into zombies. Others can only turn into ashes when they are buried in the top corpse decomposing land. Because natural zombies are extremely difficult to achieve. They can only be born through extreme coincidences. As for those who easily decompose, they actually have the bloodline of the zombie demon body from the beginning. By coincidence, in my first life, I turned from the most ordinary zombie into a zombie king. I had the cultivation equivalent to you Tao lords. My body nurtured a weak soul that was only at the level of a heaven immortal, but it did not reach the level of primordial unity. That was also the highest achievement of my first life. Later, when the netherworld was cleaning up the netherworld, I was killed by an Een god and my soul was reincarnated. In my first life, my corpse sank into the river Styx. In my second life, my soul was reincarnated as a warrior of a small tribe of the witch tribe. This time when I became a grand wizard and sneaked into the netherworld to plunder souls and refine witch artifacts, I met the corpse of my first life on the river Styx. When my reborn corpse and my reincarnated self faced each other, there was an indescribably complicated feeling. In my second life, I almost suffered chi deviation and my soul was destroyed. In the depths of the bedevilment realm, I met the Sky Devil Crown Prince. He was surprised that there were actually two me, so he taught me one of the 9 questions of the netherworld that the demon ancestor had just created, which was the true self. From then on, I saw through my true self, and the me that was born from the corpse of my first life and the me that was reincarnated in my second life were both the true self. Thus, I became a primordial unity and possessed the characteristics of Dara. After that, I cultivated the grand divine power of 3 lives and persisted in all kinds of incredible transformations. Finally, I reincarnated 3 lives, died 9 times, and became Dara. Therefore, the Tao Master of Corpse Demon is a person, but also not a person. I reincarnated 3 lives, so I have 3 souls that are constantly revolving in the cycle. They are the Corpse Demon, Corpse Deity, and Corpse Ghost. My corpse died 9 times, so I should have 9 souls, but I didn't become Dara. Souls die and end. Moreover, my cultivation of the grand divine power of 3 lives was feared by the underworld, so my soul was destroyed 6 times before I became Dara. Because of my encounter, I realized that souls and corpses are the remains of me, and they all have the chance to give birth to the true self. Now that the souls have a home, and the true spirit can reincarnate, most corpses can only rot, and there is no next life. Isn't that sad and pitiful? Every time I see the corpses of living beings rotting into ashes, I feel sad. Lady Hutu opened the cycle of reincarnation for the souls of living beings. How great is that? But why can't she give the corpses of living beings a chance? Why can't there be the corpse Tao reincarnation? After I achieved the Tao, I went to see Lady Hutu and begged her to open the Wraith Realm, to accept the corpses of living beings, and to give them a chance to reincarnate. But Lady Hutu angrily scolded me for being insane and delusional. She said that if the corpses of living beings have a next life, then wouldn't the souls of living beings be reincarnated? And the corpses of living beings have 2 selves? Wouldn't the order and karma of heaven and earth be in chaos? The Tao of reincarnation emphasizes oneness, and only oneself can represent the past and continue on. What is born from the corpses is not a second life, but a demon, an evil being, not a true life. She sent the zombies out of the 6 paths, and they are no longer living beings. The corpse demon Tao Master mournfully said, I only wanted to give living beings a chance, to give the spirits of living beings a chance. What's wrong with being born from corpses? What's wrong with my existence? Why can souls reincarnate, but corpses can't? Isn't it more economical for a corpse to reincarnate again and again? Souls are just illusory things, but corpses are real, so isn't reincarnation better than souls? Why? Why does Lady think I'm insane? That I'm delusional? I'm just asking for a chance. The corpse demon Tao Master roared into the sky. The zombies are reduced to dead spirits, so we are willing to be dead spirits. But even dead spirits should have their own world to live in. Destroy the underworld, slaughter Yenluo, turn the ghost emperors into corpses, and Idu is dead. K to demon ancestor, you are the darkness of Yuta City. If you die as a corpse, Yuta City will become a dead zone, and the underworld will die. The River Styx ancestor has wanted to destroy the underworld for a long time. But after the destruction, the River Styx demon ancestor and K2 demon ancestor went to create a new cycle of reincarnation and hid it in the returning ruins. The old underworld was destroyed, and on its corpse, the netherworld will be reborn. The dead Yenluo of the 10 halls, the ghost emperors of the 5 directions, and even Yongdu the Great will be reborn as demons. The corpse Tao reincarnation will become the hungry ghost Tao of the new 6 paths of reincarnation. The Keita demon ancestor smiled. If that's the case, so what if I die once? The destruction of the underworld is a foregone conclusion. The River Styx wants all living beings to sleep forever and can no longer tolerate the underworld. The new Yuta City will be born in the returning ruins, and I will also be reborn in the returning ruins, truly becoming one with the demon ancestor of all living beings. From then on, my will be the will of all living beings, and I will be all living beings. After I die, my corpse will be shattered, and in the darkness of Yuta City, endless demonic nature will be born. If you dare to use this demonic nature to create your corpse Tao reincarnation, I will allow you to do it once. But the corpse Tao reincarnation, although the idea is bold, your cultivation is low, and you don't have the abilities of the River Styx, and yet you want to do something as big as the River Styx. I'm afraid the outcome will not be good. It's hard to say whose fate it will be. Like the River Styx, I don't think you will succeed. I just find it interesting. I'll grant you your wish this once. It's up to you whether you succeed or fail. I won't help you later. Go. The Path Master of Corpse Demon's expression did not change when he heard Keita's words. Perhaps he knew that this was an extremely difficult and delusional act. But Dara must have a great wish, and great wishes must be fulfilled. The spirit of the demonic Tao lies in not turning back when you hit a wall, stubbornly going your own way. No matter how crazy it is, you must achieve it. The Path Master of Corpse Demon brought the corpses of Dara and sank into the blood sea. The boundless blood sea endowed the demonic nature of Dara's corpse with various characteristics of Dara, and a demon fetus without the innate, inextinguishable divine aura was quietly born. Kong Ingtian watched as the Path Master of Corpse Demon sank into the blood sea, his heart palpitating. The demonic Tao, it really is the demonic Tao. I wonder which demon ancestor of the demonic Tao has come. He actually massacred the underworld. Demon ancestor Luo is sealed in the ultimate ruin, and the demonic figure in the boundless darkness doesn't seem to be the ancestor River Styx. Could it be that another demon ancestor of the demonic Tao has been born? This is truly a calamity for the common people. Chapter 1342. Dingting held the Xianryu of Gojoseon in his mouth and trotted all the way to the Bridge of Helplessness. In order to avoid becoming the target of the demon shadow, Kong Ingtian had long left King Yama behind. The 2 transmigrators from the future met on the other side of the Bridge of Helplessness, far away from the underworld Yuta City. They looked at each other and smiled bitterly. King Yama was abnormally silent, and his mind seemed to be somewhat abnormal. The Xianryu of Gojoseon had also left a deep psychological shadow in his heart. The 2 of them looked at the increasingly dilapidated 10 bronze palaces and Ksitigarbha Temple on the scorched rock of the Blood Sea. the nearly destroyed Fengdu heaven, the broken underworld, and the remains of hell overlapped together. They were torn apart as if they had been smashed and then randomly reassembled. Darkness slowly invaded from all directions, drowning these broken worlds. King Yama sighed deeply. Let's go. This era is not something we should set foot in. If we don't leave now, I'm afraid we won't have another chance. To be able to see the ghost emperor being killed by the demon ancestor in front of my eyes. This trip is already worth it. King Yama sighed. If I wasn't also a person of the devil Tao, I'm afraid I would have long been turned into a part of the primordial evil being by this evil demon ancestor. Dharmaraja, if you and I exchange places, I'm afraid you wouldn't be alive now. The Sionryu of Gojoseon smiled bitterly. This old monk also never thought that one day I would be able to see the place where Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva perished and see the broken golden body of the Bodhisattva, which Buddha's name is the victorious fighting Buddha. This old monk still has to go back and investigate. The golden body of the Bodhisattva was carried by that mysterious demon shadow and sank into the blood sea. We Buddhist disciples must rescue the golden body of the Bodhisattva from the blood sea. The secrets of the primordial world at the end of the primordial age are really terrifying. I never thought that the destruction of the underworld today was actually caused by the devil Tao. What's more, he hadn't expected that apart from the demon ancestor of destruction and demon ancestor of slaughter, the demonic path actually had another evil demon ancestor that was hidden so deeply. The evil demon ancestor destroyed hell as soon as he was born. In the future, it will also be the evil demon ancestor who destroys hell. If that's the case, I'm afraid that the countless fragments of the netherworld and the myriad worlds would have long since become a nest of devils. The evil demon ancestor shattered the underworld and drove the primordial evil beings to hide in the countless fragments of the netherworld. Just what is his scheme? Just what does the devil path want to do to our myriad worlds? I must investigate this thoroughly. Dharmaraja. King Yama wasn't worried at all about the Sionryu of Gojoseon discovering the devil path scheme. How could a mere bodhisattva fruits, Sionryu of Gojoseon, shake the devil path scheme that spanned countless levels and paid the price of the destruction of the underworld's cycle of reincarnation? He just sneered. If you know too much, you will die. I'm afraid that Dharmaraja won't be able to return to the past. With that, the two of them pulled the power of Dara from the earth Bodhisattva temple's horizontal board and the remains of the Yenluo temple to guide them out of this era, just as the power of Dara brought the two of them out of this universe. King Yama saw from the corner of his eye that the Sionryu of Gojoseon, who was sitting on a lotus platform that protected his body and was gradually turning into nothingness, had a look of shock on his face. The tip of a sword had pierced through his chest, and golden blood flowed down along the tip of the sword. Dingting, who was not far away, was about to pounce over, but he had an extremely fearful look on his face, not daring to do so. Behind the Sionryu of Gojoseon, King Yama saw the figure of a person that he never thought he would see here. The shock in his heart was at its peak. A tremor that shook even his soul assaulted him, causing him to tremble uncontrollably. He was as weak and afraid as an ignorant mortal. Shwetu King. Why is he here? Why did he want to kill the Sionryu of Gojoseon? Why was he able to kill the Sionryu of Gojoseon? Why did the Shwetu King appear at the end of the ancient times, when the underworld was destroyed? The boundless sea of blood, yes. Although the one who killed Yongdu the Great was the evil demon ancestor, the remains of the 10 temples of Yenluo have traces of the boundless sea of blood, and the boundless sea of blood has even appeared on the ruins of the underworld. I originally thought that the underworld was surrounded by the boundless sea of blood, so I didn't take these traces to heart. However, the reaction of the heavenly court's divine generals seems to be different. Blood sea, demonic path, river Styx demon ancestor, evil demon ancestor. How many secrets are hidden in the destruction of the underworld? King Yama watched the Seonryu of Gojoseon's stunned expression as the Shui, 2 king, decapitated him and carried his head away. This was the last scene that King Yama saw. Before he left, the Shui, 2 king seemed to look back at King Yama, who was fading away from this world, intentionally or unintentionally. The meaningful smile in his eyes made King Yama shudder. Dharmaraja, I told you, knowing too much, you can't die in peace. After returning to the Sea of Heaven's realm, King Yama became even more silent. He didn't tell anyone about this experience, nor did he tell the Earth Bodhisattva Temple about the Seonryu of Gojoseon's final whereabouts. He only quietly supplemented the inheritance of Huangquan School and perfected the King Yanluo achievement method. He used all the power of Huangquan School to create an imitation of the 10 temples of Yanluo. He used the principles of the demonic path to create the 10 temples of Yama. Only in Huangquan School, in the annals of the Yellow Springs that only the sect master could read, King Yama recorded, I once had a great opportunity. I borrowed the power of the sect's most precious treasure, the Yama Temple, and returned to the end of the ancient times. I witnessed the wreckage of the underworld after it was destroyed. The 10 temples of Yanluo were destroyed. There were marks of axes, swords, and claws on them. On the broken walls, there were traces of blood. It was suspected to be the remains of the Blood Sea. In the darkness of Yuta City, I suddenly heard the call of nameless things. They were all chanting the name of the 10 temples of Yanluo. I didn't know what was going on. However, I meditated in the 10 temples of Yanluo for 10 days. I actually witnessed the evil demon ancestor, who had never appeared in the world, attacking and killing Idu. I saw it with my own eyes. The Ketu demon ancestor killed Yongdu the Great outside the city gate of Idu. The 5 ghost emperors, except for the 2 eastern emperors, were all dead. The demon ancestor brought Idu to the 10 temples of Yanluo. I fled in panic. I fled to Wujiao Cliff. However, I saw the 3 great divine generals of the Heavenly Court and the Seonryu of Gojoseon who had descended with me. When the Ketu demon ancestor arrived, the divine generals of the Heavenly Court also turned around and fled. When I reached the Bridge of Helplessness, I stopped and watched from the side. I saw the 5 ghost emperors, the 10 temples of Yanluo, the Yongdu the Great, and the golden body of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva sink into the sea of blood with a mysterious demon shadow. The darkness of Yuta City descended, and the netherworld collapsed. I wanted to escape this world. When I was breaking the boundary with the Seonryu of Gojoseon, I suddenly saw my old acquaintance, the Shui 2 king, descend behind the Seonryu of Gojoseon and cut off his head. I thought it was because he knew too much. The situation of the ages should not be revealed. If it is revealed, you will suffer a great calamity. Young lad, remember this. Remember this. At the end of this record, King Yama seemed to have paused for a long time before he picked up his brush and added a sentence. That mysterious demon shadow looks like he did not finish this sentence. At the end of this unfinished record, there was a faint trace of blood that made everyone who had read this record shudder. According to the historical records of the Huangquan School, the 9th sect master, the great Yanluo, had comprehended King Yanluo's dharma in his later years and cultivated the devil body of King Qingguang. His primordial spirit entered the first Yama palace. However, he had violated a taboo and met with misfortune. He was often disturbed by nightmares. In the end, he died in front of the annals of the Yellow Springs. His primordial spirit dharma form, King Qingguang, became the foundation of the Huangquan School. The Shui 2 king carried the head of the Seonryu of Gojoseon and arrived at Wujiao Cliff. He saw the Ketu demon ancestor sitting at the edge of the cliff, looking down at the boundless sea of blood below. Not far from him was the golden body of Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva. But not long ago, the Ketu demon ancestor had dispelled the remaining power of the Monkey King's divine ability and sent the golden body of the Ksitigarbha Bodhisattva to the Tao Master of the Corpse Demon, sinking it into the sea of blood. Greetings, demon ancestor. The Shui-Tu king did not dare to be negligent. The person in front of him was not the Yuan-Yu he was familiar with, but the third ancestor of the devil Tao, Mahakala, the great darkness demon god, the evil demon ancestor of all beings, K2. The K2 demon ancestor said in a low voice, I was born from Yuta City. Now that Yuta City is about to be destroyed, I will die with it. Although I have ways to avoid it, to us, life and death are nothing more than normal. Instead of struggling in the wreckage of Yuta City, I might as well follow River Styx and be reborn in the Yuta City that he prepared for me. When that time comes, I will be the complete demon ancestor of all beings. After I die, the Yin-Yang demon master, who will be my avatar, will be reborn. After experiencing this calamity, he will definitely benefit greatly and comprehend the essence of the devil Tao. Only then will he be worthy of being called the Yin-Yang demon master of the devil Tao. You must guide him carefully so that he does not fall back to the path of righteousness. The Shui-Tu king acknowledged respectfully. The Tao master of the corpse demon is vainly trying to open a second cycle and create the evil ghost corpse Tao of his dreams. Don't you know that he has already returned from the Sea of Chaos? What he does has nothing to do with you. If there is a conflict of interest with the Sea of Blood, you don't have to care about the friendship of fellow Taoists. I forgot. When have you ever cared about the friendship of fellow Taoists? The friendship of fellow Taoists of the devil Tao has always been weaker than paper in the face of benefits. I am saying all this to let you know that he is acting rashly on his own. It was not our intention. If he succeeds, River Styx and I will be happy. If he fails, we will just watch coldly from the sidelines. It doesn't matter. At this point, I will die. With that, the K2 demon ancestor's figure made of endless darkness quietly disintegrated. Endless evil spirits with extreme madness, distortion, and darkness rushed out of K2's demonic body. The darkness of Yuta City quietly distorted. It became an endless abyss where endless space, darkness, distortion, and evil gathered. Once the chaos was broken, it would become the deepest, darkest, and most distorted part of the Sea of Realms. After the death of the K2 demon ancestor, a demonic figure was born from his corpse, from the abyss of Yuta City. The demonic figure said, I am the lord of millions of primordial evils, the lord of evil, the lord of primordial darkness hell, the great demon god of darkness, Mokegalo, brat of the devil Tao. Although we have a trace of friendship, I was born evil. If you continue to stay, I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself and torture you to death. You'd better run for your life. Also, after Kata's death, Yuta City was destroyed, and the remains formed the abyss of Yuta City. It is the home of evil beings like us. The reincarnation land of the underworld has been contaminated by K2. Although the laws of reincarnation have not been contaminated, the various laws that extend into the underworld have been distorted. The remains of the underworld are controlled by evil beings like us. In the future, everything related to the underworld will definitely be extremely horrifying and ominous, because there are no more ghosts or gods in the underworld, only primordial evils. You can practice techniques related to the laws of the underworld. Those who practice these techniques will be sacrificed to me, and I will definitely repay you. Of course, don't make yourself too delicious. Otherwise, I'm afraid I won't be able to resist attacking you. Ha. Mokegalo laughed maniacally and left, sinking into the abyss of darkness. Countless evil beings began to stir, causing the Shui-Tu king and Ajati to be alarmed. However, they still endured the discomfort and waited on Wajiao Rock. Not long after, Yuan-Yu rushed out of the abyss in a sorry state and came before the two. Seeing that the person they were waiting for had arrived, the two heaved a sigh of relief. Yuan-Yu did not stop walking. This is not the place to talk. Let's return to the world of the living first. The three of them walked towards the bridge of helplessness and saw the celestial soldiers, waiting by the side of the bridge of helplessness. The three god generals were carefully investigating Yudu, and Yuan Yu grunted. It's already fortunate that I let you guys escape once, yet you guys still dare to stay in the netherworld. This was truly the path to death. Ji-du was dead. Demon ancestors' consciousness has already returned to the returning ruins, leaving only the darkness source of Yuda City and the evil instincts of the primordial evil beings. They have transformed into Mokegalo and will soon kill their way out of the underworld, unleashing their twisted natures. We can't delay, don't alarm them. Let's go to the gates of hell. Shen Tuyulei is guarding the gates of hell, and now it's the real gates of hell. With the two of them here, those evil beings won't be able to take a single step out of the underworld. The Shui-Tu King quietly snuck across the bridge of helplessness and said in surprise, Shin Tuyulei can actually stop those primordial evil beings. He can't, Yuan Yu said, but Mokegalo doesn't dare to cross. He was beaten by Concubine Hutu. The primordial evil beings were also dealt with by the concubine when the cycle of reincarnation opened. Although Shen Tuyulei is tyrannical, he isn't a match for those evil beings, especially Mokegalo. I'm afraid he has about 30% of K2 demon ancestors' abilities, which is already very shocking. However, Shen Tuyulei has concubine Huda behind him, so those evil beings don't dare to provoke him. Concubine will never allow them to rush out of the underworld. Even in the underworld, they won't be able to do as they please. Not long after, Concubine Huda's subordinates will enter the underworld to clean up the evil beings and prevent them from growing. Now that the Emperor of Heaven is still here, that's all the concubine can do. The Emperor of Heaven is still here. The Emperor of Heaven is still here. Two exclamations sounded in unison. It was the Shui-Tu King and Ajadi who were shocked and lost their composure when they heard this news. Yuan Yu's expression was gloomy. The Emperor of Heaven has only fused the Tao. He's not dead. Of course, he's still here. The destruction of the primordial world is the overall situation. The Emperor of Heaven has no intention of stopping it. The Emperor of Heaven has seen the decay of the heavenly court. However, even the Emperor of Heaven can't do anything about the decay of his former subordinates and the lofty immortals and gods. The Emperor of Heaven also has a great enemy, the Tai-I Divine Emperor, Dihong and Tai-I. The battle between the two Emperors of Heaven has continued to this day. Moreover, there's also an Emperor of Heaven. Emperor of Heaven Hong Jun doesn't dare to act rashly. Otherwise, if the other Emperor of Heaven and the Tai-I Divine Emperor work together, even the Emperor of Heaven would have to be careful. There's actually an Emperor of Heaven. The Shui-Tu King frowned. The primordial demon court and the primordial heavenly court. Apart from the masters of these two divine courts, who else can be called the Emperor of Heaven? Ajadi said in disbelief. This Emperor of Heaven is more legitimate than any divine court or heavenly court because he is heaven. Heavenly venerate Yuan Yu sighed. In fact, he is the most qualified Emperor of Heaven recognized by the mystic door. Heavenly God. The Shui-Tu King sucked in a breath of cold air. Is the Emperor of Heaven Jun finally going to intervene? Di Jun. Heavenly venerate Yuan Yu had mixed feelings. Di Hong and Di Jun were both ancient gods. Di Hong used to be the central chaos great emperor. Later, it was given to the head of the 5 emperors of the human race, Yellow Emperor Shenyuan. Di Jun was the title that the Tai-I Divine Emperor used to rule the world. Later, it was given to the heavenly god. Now, the Tai-I Emperor Jun Di Hong was the strongest emperor of heaven who suppressed the 3 pure ones and created the 3 sovereigns and 5 emperors of the human race several Pangu eras ago. He was even stronger than the mystic door. Could Di Hong, who ruled over great heaven, suppress everything and become the supreme emperor of heaven when the human race's orthodoxies were not united?